Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. It's time for Formula 3. Everything is awesome. Holy shit. Let's see. Formula 3. It's a good day to be a Formula 3 fan. Man. Oh, wait. Oh my god. Okay, now. Holy shit. Formula 3. Let's see. Formula 3. I mean, I know how it's ended. That was most amazing thing ever that happened. Maybe can see why. Oh, I should maybe have. What's the standing? I want the results. So, the most important thing that happened in Formula 3, that is Dino Beganovic succeeding to win the race of the starting P3. And yeah, I don't know when he got past what lap, but I think Fornaroli was leading somewhat the first part of the race. Then Beganovic passed him, and then it was almost over for him. At least you can say in the last 1 or 2 laps. Then Beganovic just starting to drive like a. It was his last race. And just get away from him. And then Browning then looked like, oh, will he maybe get past Fornaroli or maybe Beganovic, and then he started dropping off, and then Mini get past him. What more happened? Lindblad didn't have a fun race. The winner in the sprint race didn't have a fun race. Let's see, did something more happen? Where did Fleurs end up? Oh, let's see. Was that race? Yeah, it must be in that race. Flourish and someone got yeeted or crashed because someone tried to get past them. So they were out of the race really early. Yeah, but man, this is yeah. Here we have Martinez Stornhorn, the sprint race winner. But here's the most important one: Dino Beganovic won the race, and for people that cares, he has 28 points now, so the championship is on. He just need to keep doing good races. Don't do races like, I mean, look at this. He started P1. And then this is his results from that race. He started P1 or P10 or something. And this is And man, also this. He could have got points here also, but he got got a penalty, and then man, his start of this season haven't been so fun, but hopefully the rest will be just amazing for him. And also he's a Ferrari junior, what you call, so hey, after Oliver Berman get out of the Haas and into Ferrari, maybe Beganovic will be in the Haas. So, but enough with Formula 3. It's time for Formula 2. And yeah, Daniel Sagers that started P1 did a similar crash like Josh Russell. Yeah, didn't have a chance to try to actually win the race. And here we have the person that done won. Let's see. Where do we have Antonelli? He got 12 points at least. So he had a good race. Oh my god, 24 points. Where do we have Oliver Berman? What did he do? Only 2 points. Man. Hey! His first points in Formula 2. And he still have more points in Formula 1. Is there someone more? Oh. Let's see, where do we have Bortoletto? Oh. Yeah, I don't know what the problem he got, but he was out in the first race, or first really early because of some problems. Hey, oh, Mayata got some points. Oh wait, I should maybe have. That's the standing. Oh, Atalanta, yeah, P4 or Mayata P5, so that's fun for them. And Ulbema 9. I mean, this race will be maybe more fun if the Dennis Hager crash didn't happen. Because his win was so... He didn't go in and change the tires when the other people did. And then after Dennis Hager crashed, he could change and win a lot of that. So that was... So his win was... I wouldn't say deserved. So I didn't care in that. I just saw the people finish and then I turn off because, man, I don't care about that win. But now for more fun stuff, Formula 1. Here we have it. Carlos Sainz succeeded to win in Formula 1. His third win. And yeah, Charles Leclerc P2. And this is because Max Verstappen had a really not fun race. Something with his brakes just ruined the race for him. And then, even better, something in Mercedes car ruined the race for Lewis Hamilton. And Josh Russell just crashed out for some reason. Or like it looked like, Fernando Alonso. I've seen something that Fernando Alonso made George Russell crash out, and I mean, I think Norris made Russell crash out also. So where is his penalty? But this I don't understand. Maybe people will learn more about this, but I feel that sounds like a joke. But Yuki Tsunoda got the one better position, so he got 6 points, and that's amazing. Secured also disgusting to see Haas getting points, and Alex Albon didn't get a point. Or Daniel Ricciardo. Man, remove this disgusting dude. I don't want them here. Go away. But yeah, and after Charles Leclerc we have Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, so McLaren shows that Mercedes are really bad. And then Sergio Perez, man. The Red Bull car in Australia for some reason that day was nowhere. Maybe because Sergio Perez is bad, but they didn't have a good brakes on Max Verstappen, so. And Aston Martin had a somewhat good race. I mean, P6, P8. I mean, that's better than what Mercedes did. DNF both the car. Really great from them. And then this is just a prank. We don't need to care about this. And who knows, Daniel Ricciardo can maybe have got some points this race. And Alpine and Kick Sauber, they are nowhere. They are just I mean, they are doing, what can you call it? God damn it. They're not there to win, they're just there for maybe the free food. They're not trying to be good. But yeah, so the race was like, Max was out of the 3 laps, and then his one tire brakes just exploded when he was in the pit. Carlos Sainz, he did a Max Verstappen race. It didn't look like someone else could win against him. He just vanished. Charles Leclerc tried, but it was never a chance. Lando Norris tried to get past Leclerc, but it didn't look like he would. Oscar Piastri tried to do something, but no. So every person after each other couldn't do anything. They were just driving to be where they were. And I feel like, man, what happened? So I would say the race was the only thing that made race fun was seeing Carlos Sainz win and Leclerc being P2 and Lando Norris P3. But the race was somewhat boring. Nothing happened. Except maybe the start with Max Verstappen, what Lewis Hamilton did in lap 15, and then George Russell did in the end. Man, that crash. It looked more horrible when you just saw how the car was standing, but when you then saw the crash was somewhat milder than what you was thinking. So yeah, so let's go and go and watch some doing some reaction of the YouTube stuff. Like the first clip. We have, first we need to have Minecraft up and running. Man, come on. I have the game on. Yeah. Oh, fy själv. God damn it. Okay. But we will be starting with F1 2024 Australia Grand Prix review. Ferrari on top, down there. From Autosport. First we just turn on the game. And yeah. The only thing I know I will do in Minecraft is fixing this part. How should this be? Should it just be like that? Should this... Oh! More free stuff. Let's go and pick it up. God damn it, can't you go? Oh, get that. Oh my god, so complicated. But yeah, fixing how it should look. Where is the free stuff? Okay, some free gunpowder. But I hear a squid die. And this is the place where squids dies. Wait. Man, this is weird. Oh, there we have it. Some free loot. Okay, let's turn Autosport.
Only 16 days after having surgery, and it was Carlos Sainz that reigned supreme, stepping to the top spot of the podium, victorious in Australia. It was misery for Max Verstappen, ending his run of 43 consecutive race finishes, and even more misery for...
Oh, yeah! He's first DNF since, I don't know when, from maybe 2021.
Mercedes, with both drivers not finishing.
The rule must be really happy.
Albeit one of them not being the driver's fault. Or maybe both, which we'll come to in a bit more detail. But let's have a look, shall we, at the result. Ferrari scored their first 1-2 since Bahrain in 2022, with the man leaving the Italian team come the end of the season.
Oh my god, Bahrain 2022. That was a long time ago.
Securing his third ever Formula One victory. His teammate completing the max points haul with second place and the fastest lap. Then come the two McLarens, but due to team orders and not to the delight of the home faithful in Melbourne, it was Lando Norris earning his 14th F1 career.
Yeah, but come on, Oscar Piastri wasn't that fast, so the only way for them maybe getting P2.
Podium, local boy Piastri coming in 4th. So far in, is still no Red Bull. Well, here's one for you. A disappointing 5th for Perez, and it would have been 2 Aston Martins, with Alonso finishing ahead of his teammate in 6th, but due to a 20-second penalty to Alonso...
Yeah, why? I want to know.
He is demoted to 8th, with Stroll and Tsunoda profiting. Stroll 6th, Tsunoda 7th. Yuki Tsunoda finishing 7th equalled his best since Abu Dhabi in 2021 and scored RB's first points of the campaign. 9th and 10th, and Haas have done it again. Hülkenberg leading the pair home. Just out of the points and perhaps reigniting the fairness debate is Alex Albon in the other guy's Williams. A quick run through the rest, and it's Daniel Ricciardo in a lowly 12th, the Alpine of Gasly followed by the 2 Saubers, the other Alpine in 16th, and then, 3 DNFs. Russell and Hamilton having a weekend to forget again. And how about this? Max Verstappen ending that 43 Grand Prix consecutive race finishes as he pulled out with just 3 laps gone. Well, to look back at the race and a whole lot more, I'm delighted to have here in the UK Alex Kalinauckas, and over there down under is Matt Q. First of all, Matt, first time you've been down under to see a Grand Prix. What was the experience like?
It's an amazing city, I have to say, very friendly, and I've got an old school chum out here, so it's been good to see them. And as you can see, I've now hopped aboard a helicopter to record this video with a beautiful skyline view of Melbourne. But yeah, it's a great place, really friendly, really enthusiastic, and this is in no way a dig at other Grand Prix, but you've got a beautiful venue right in the heart of a city, and yet there's no traffic, there's no sort of crowd control issues, everything just works. It's a bit expensive, but I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, huge fan of very, very static shots as well, but look at it, Matt. Well, it's great to see you here.
Just a little add to that is like, I know that to many, Albert Park is in no way like an historic venue. It's not a Monza, it's not a Monaco, but you know, the entire time I've grown up with Formula One, it's always been on the calendar bar COVID. So I come here, I think of, you know, incidents with Villeneuve, Schumacher, Alonso flying through the air, whatever, and I actually think it's sort of really dripping in charisma, so as a fanboy it's great for that as well.
Well, that is good to hear, and I know it's your last one, so you won't go back there in the future, or maybe you will. We'll come to that at the end, I'm sure, but let's go to Alex then. So let's kick off with this Grand Prix. It was a fantastic performance from Carlos Sainz.
Certainly was.
Du och dina grannar kan få dela på 110 miljoner. Postkodlotteriet.se.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say fantastic race, Bryn, because I think actually, if we look at it objectively, really wasn't all that interesting. It was just the fact that
it was. I mean, it would be that would be more interesting to know. Would Carlos Sainz still win if Max Verstappen didn't have any problems? That I would want to know. Could the race have actually been better if Max Verstappen didn't get a DNF? But we'll never know.
So much joy in the fact that, and we say that, of course, without the accusations of bias. Like, we just like it when things are different, right? So when the Red Bull was out of the race, when Max Verstappen had his issues, suddenly you're like, oh my God, something's different, something's new. This is interesting, this is intriguing. But then after that, it's a time management affair. And I think that when you get things like, Charles Leclerc had to pit a little bit earlier, then he had that big tyre offset to Carlos Sainz, there was no contest at the front. That's not to take anything away from Carlos Sainz's performance, which, again, other than a small mistake in qualifying yesterday that isn't guaranteed to have lost in pole. I think Max Verstappen was as good as he ever is in qualifying, to secure pole position. Sainz has been pretty flawless. And then you add on top of that 2 weeks ago he was recovering, like, literally just out of hospital in Jeddah from having his appendix removed. So, I mean, I've got to do the drive ratings for Autosport.com and Autosport magazine this week. He's getting a 10 out of 10. The appendicitis factor mitigates against the error at the end of Q3.
Yeah,
so,
that will maybe be a new stuff for the drivers. Removing that and get better in Formula 1.
Yeah, what can you say about him? I mean, he's like, what else has he got to do to get a top drive? I think if push came to shove, if you asked me, I don't recommend Ferrari ask me to be their team manager and having to make decisions. Do I want Carlos Sainz or Lewis Hamilton? I'm probably going to take Lewis Hamilton because he's a 7-time world champion. But if the other car was completely free and Carlos Sainz was up there, why wouldn't he even be in consideration? Like, think of what Mercedes have got to choose now. Maybe Red Bull and Aston Martin, things like that. If things really do change in the driver market, honestly, like the other drivers are being asked if he's underrated, and really, I think there's a case to be made that just circumstances, unfortunate circumstances, think Las Vegas, think that red flag here in qualifying a couple of years ago, have hurt Sainz because he's just been fantastic this weekend.
Yeah, he really has. And actually, Matt, since you've been there,
a
lot of the TV reporters have been saying that when Carlos Sainz has been walking around, he's been a bit tentative. You can see he's not completely 100%. He's not been able to train properly as you'd like to and things like that. Have you noticed anything? Because when he gets in the car, he's just been a bit of an animal.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a picture surfaced of him and Norris in like the cool-down room after the race, and Carlos has lifted up his shirt, and he's still got a great big dressing across there, and it was quite funny speaking to Alex Albon about it. They're sort of having an appendicitis off of whose was worse. You know, Albon's got the respiratory failure card, but he also was like, you know, the fact that Sainz has come back in, you know, a week sooner effectively than he did to make the race has been fantastic, and then you've both got sort of the endurance, the long runs, and then also offsetting it when you're, you know, giving everything on a qualifying lap. And yeah, he has come through it spectacularly well. And sort of to pick up what Alex was saying, I think basically there are certain, you know, rumours about the Sainz's camp being a bit difficult or whatever, but I firmly believe that basically if Hamilton hadn't have been available, then Sainz would still have that Ferrari seat, because to my mind, him and Leclerc are a better pairing than him or Hamilton. Hamilton's a 7-time world champion, yes, but I think there's less to dispute with a number one position, any friction, the team being built around one driver or the other, like there will be with Hamilton and Leclerc. Whereas with Sainz and Leclerc, you've got probably Leclerc, who's half a tenth quicker, and Sainz, who is an absolute intellect, and between them, that's a really, really potent combination.
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something just there, Matt. But let's talk about the other part of the equation, the Leclerc part of the equation then, because in quali he had tyre problems, or he said he had tyre problems. In race he said he had tyre problems. Alex, what are your thoughts? Is it driver error, car setup error? What's going on there?
I think the qualifying thing in particular is just the
fact... the driver error of Lewis Hamilton. I mean, he made the car say no. That was a big driver error.
He seemed to, well, he said this outright, that he lost his confidence with the car between FP3 and qualifying. Now, the conditions did change quite a lot. They were quite hotter for qualifying, and the wind in particular, if you go and read what the Mercedes drivers were saying about the wind, that seemed to pretty much knock their car out of the sort of sweet spot they'd arrived at with the setup. So you can understand that that's probably what's happened with Charles Leclerc in that case. Equally, the same thing would have applied to Sainz, but it just seems that Leclerc, he operates a little bit more on feel, if you know what I mean. Like, he's just so instinctively fast that it seems to have, that's what's really sort of what's done for him in qualifying. And the tyres are so sensitive. Again, look at what another driver's been saying. Nico Hülkenberg said a small mistake at turn 7, he never got the tyre temperature window back. So little things can add up to big differences, especially in such a compressed pack. Leclerc then said in qualifying, we tried to, you know, really aggressive change, adding a load of, you know, turns on the front wing, and it just didn't work out for him. So that, I think, explains what happened to him in qualifying. In the race, as I've said, I think ultimately he's undone by his qualifying position in a sort of, I know we're going to get to McLaren, but a sort of similar way Lando Norris was. Like, he was just vulnerable to the undercut because he was ahead. I think the McLaren strategy thing has been massively overblown. But when it comes to Leclerc, Russell pits, Piastri pits, Leclerc pits at the same time. I think Andrea Stella said, they might have been listening to our radio calls, or, you know, just realised that an aggressive strategy was a good idea. But ultimately, what happened? They came out, they were in a bit of traffic. Leclerc had to, you know, he was racing against, it's an Alpine, and that is pretty disparaging to Alpine, but that's the position they're in. He had to push hard on his tyres. It meant that his stint was obviously a lot harder, and Sainz had the massive tyre offset. So I think everything that happened in the race is explainable, but ultimately it all comes down to the difference in qualifying.
Carlos Sainz so far this season, the third and the first in his 2 Grand Prix. He's outperforming his teammate Leclerc, the one they've managed to retain for 2025. So this one's going to rumble on, I think, a fair bit. As may this story, it might just disappear off into the ether, who knows. And that is Max Verstappen. First time in 43 consecutive races that he's not finished, Matt. It was a brake issue. It got him pretty early on.
Vi är som vem som helst.
Go away, ad.
Vi går till jobbet. Sen går vi hem.
Oh my god, så långa. We need stone stuff.
Och försvarar Sverige.
Protect the Sweden.
Sälj din bil snabbt, tryggt och enkelt med Wheelaway. Emma skapade en annons på några minuter och fick in flera bud från seriösa bilhandlare. Hon accepterade budet som passade henne bäst. Sälj din bil the easy way med Wheelaway.
Yeah, we have some stuff we want.
Yeah, it's first DNF since here 2 years ago when they had one of those early fuel system failures that also scuppered them in Bahrain. And not to make light of the situation, but it's a proper retirement that. I enjoyed that. We had smoke, we had flames, we had car bits exploding as he came into the pit lane, a proper one.
Was George Russell's a proper retirement then?
Yeah, there's that as well. They did well. If you weren't doing driver ratings but retirement ratings, I think they'd score highly. But with Verstappen, so a bit like the Mercedes power unit failure, there's no direct explanation. Everything's basically been put in a box and sent back to the UK for inspection. However, we don't have F1 TV anymore, which is a separate point of frustration, to look at who was ripping off tear-offs on the way to the grid that Verstappen's run over, see if he's picked anything up like with versus Leclerc at Spa in 2022, or even Ocon stuff at this race. But I suspect, having spoken to a couple of people at the team, it might more be, something as like a bit of tape, or basically having the wrong cooling on that brake duct, rather than it necessarily have gone over a bit of debris and being blocked.
Yeah, I think also don't forget Red Bull here last year had quite significant troubles with the braking, like we saw Perez off the road in qualifying that did for his weekend 12 months ago. And so I think that, because there was that moment in the garage where Max was sort of like tapping his head and seemed very angry with one of his engineers. He's explained that away as the fact that they did a pit stop, and that he was like, well, I'm obviously going to retire, why are you doing a pit stop? But again, I think Matt's onto something. Red Bull struggles here. It's not, it struggles with the tyres. It clearly struggles with the braking. And as we saw with Ferrari in Bahrain, it's all about the cooling. They can put the bigger brake ducts on. They can tape bits up. You want to make your brakes as aerodynamic as you possibly can. If you get it slightly wrong, it can have big consequences. Obviously, we don't have confirmation of that, but it tracks, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess it does. Now, the one driver that didn't seem to have any problems out there, and yet seemed to have problems out there, is the other Red Bull driver, Perez. He came home way out of position when you think his main job really is to pick up wins when Max doesn't. It was wide of the mark.
Yeah, there was sort of a line I saw getting pedalling around from Horner, I think, in defence of Perez, that he had a bit of damage. I've not seen an awful lot to support that, but I think you can sort of rush to Perez's aid in some respects. Okay, he completely undid his weekend from very early on in Q1 by blocking Hulkenberg. That was a stupid mistake. Okay, the team should have warned him better, but he should have not been in that place at that time and immediately had a 3-second penalty. Again, a mark against him is that even with that, he should have been the second fastest. Verstappen put it on pole. He should have been second to sort of minimise the damage of that penalty. However,
fuck is happening?
Speaking to a couple of team bosses, the Red Bull data on the long runs wasn't that good in the race. They think there would have been a proper dice between the Ferraris and Verstappen, sort of on merit, without the brake problems, particularly with sort of the way graining came into it. So, it's that balance of how much is Perez sort of not doing what was required, and there's, I'm afraid to say, not flippantly, there's always an element of that, or it seems to be that way. Long, but I don't think this was Red Bull's strongest race. Not in the sense that, we've come to a street track, so they've got to raise a ride height like you get at Singapore, and that puts them massively out the window. It's more to do with the interactions with the tyre this weekend.
I can't, just sort of expanding on that, Matt. I actually think Max Verstappen still might have won this race. That's just my initial feeling. I'll get to that. I can expand on your Horner line as well. He said that actually when they looked at the car, they discovered, he pretty much outright names it, a Fernando Alonso visor tear-off stuck in the floor that was costing about 20 downforce points. So
that's 2 people he's taken out.
Yeah, exactly. Very crafty from but yeah, I mean, that I think basically what that does by Perez, clearly there was obviously something, like, because he was coming through the field. He was quick in the early stages, and then it all seems to disappear, particularly towards the end of the stint, the first stint on the hard tyres, and then later on to the second stint on the hards. But basically, we don't have enough data to say that Red Bull definitely would have been defeated. Like Perez is like, yeah, absolutely. Even if Max had been in this race, he would have been beaten. I'm sorry, Sergio, but Max has got one of his brakes locked on, put a handbrake on.
Yeah, and if Leclerc had a good car, Carlos Sainz wouldn't be that So maybe he isn't that good as a driver.
On the car, and he was still
Maybe.
within DRS and within half a second behind Carlos Sainz. Okay, albeit for a lap, but it's not like he suddenly tumbled away. He was still, you know, potentially in the position to come back at him. How that would have worked out at a longer stint, I don't know. But I just think that to how compromised Red Bull ended up being, I don't think you can comprehensively say that they definitely would have lost this race.
With that point in mind,
But they could. And if Leclerc had a good car, then maybe even more would have lost the
that you've both really
race.
been making, had Max stayed in the race, would we still be talking about a Ferrari win? I've heard from Alex. What do you think?
It's difficult to say. I
Leclerc
really
had a good car.
enjoyed the fact that we actually had an on-track overtake for the lead, but as the Red Bull camper at pains to say, it wasn't
Should
really
I do now?
meritocratic because he had you know, a difficult feeling in the car, feeling that the handbrake was on from the formation lap. So that obviously allows Sainz to come through. So if you've already got that offsetting them, then perhaps without that, does Verstappen streak into a lead? You know, we've got the, not to disappear off a tangent, but for this year, we've got, you know, the change in the DRS rule, so it's now activated at the end of lap 1, at the end of lap 3. The idea is that, you know, you can be within a DRS zone of Max Verstappen
stuff
immediately
to
and
do.
then chase after him, so he's not had that cushion to sort of lean on his tyres. But because of the thermal or the tyre warm-up issues here and the graining, which meant the tyres were ripping, drivers were immediately backing off anyway, sort of, you know, bring in the tyres gently. So that meant they were processional and then weren't able to capitalise on that DRS effect anyway, that it being introduced earlier. So I don't think Sainz necessarily would have been in the 1 second window to mount an early overtake on Verstappen if he doesn't have a catastrophic brake failure. So thereafter, I'm not too convinced, just because of sort of that plane Verstappen is operating in. So the pessimist in me says Verstappen probably has it on a good day.
It sounds like in the background,
And Leclerc. Remember Leclerc. The only reason Carlos Sainz won was because Leclerc didn't have a good car.
Matt, that maybe Perez is banging his head against a wall or something like that. It's very loud going on just there. But let's move to a team that did have a very good day, and that is McLaren. Both their drivers, 3rd and 4th. It sounded like there was a few boos going on, though, when the team orders came in and Piastri had to move aside for Norris. But Matt, you being there, do you think it was the right call? It seems to have been
fucking
with retrospect,
retarded
looking
question.
back.
Yeah, neither of the drivers are fussed about it, and I can keep it brief for you, really. Is that Andrea Stella, when he was sort of justifying the decision, you know, do strategists ever care about the home fans and all of that, he said it wasn't even a strategic decision, it was an executional decision, is the word he liked. I really like that. So it wasn't swapping positions so that Norris could go after Leclerc, or it wasn't swapping positions so Leclerc could go ahead of Norris to then have a buffer to Perez. It was just so that Norris was the faster car at that point. He would have to overtake Piastri, so why not do it in controlled conditions, take away that element of risk and orchestrate it? So it wasn't about changing positions beyond the McLaren camp, if you see what I mean. It was just to make it as smooth as possible.
Aptly put. I mean, it's nice you're talking about that sort of thing. There's loads of banging on. I've no idea what's going on just out of shot, by the way.
I think the ignoring of the media centre shuts when the last journalist leaves. It's pack it all down now.
Right. Okay. Simple as that. It does sound like there's a lot going on, which is quite exciting. It's just we can't see what it is, unfortunately. But let's move on very quickly to Aston Martin. We haven't really touched on Aston Martin or Mercedes, and these two kind of are intrinsically linked with one of the Mercedes drivers. It looked like it was a pretty good afternoon for Alonso and for Lance Stroll, but Alonso's been given a penalty. Alex, talk us through what happened with Aston Martin, and then we'll move it on to Mercedes.
Come on.
Yeah, so the main thing about, I'll be honest, I don't actually really know what happened with Lance Stroll. He just sort of seemed to pretty much be there backing up Alonso. Fair enough. Like, finally did a weekend where things went sort of smooth enough for Lance Stroll. But the reason why, because obviously he started ahead of him, the reason why Alonso got ahead was because he started on the hard tyres, and that made the critical difference, because obviously when you get that virtual safety car, when Lewis Hamilton retires, he was able to gain about 10, 11 seconds of race time. So he was sort of vaulted ahead including of George Russell. Aston Martin then, I thought, made a very smart call, actually went quite aggressive with the second stop, which again, the undercut effect is so powerful. We, sort of touched on that with the McLaren drivers, that kept him ahead of the Mercedes, which I think, we know it is. It's a faster car, especially when they get it in the sweet spot and things like that. And Russell was homing in on him. He had a tyre life advantage at the end of the race and was within half a second for the last few laps of the race. And then basically, it's all got very murky. It's all got very crafty Fernando Alonso, but sort of has a bit of almost a nasty element to it when you sort of see the accusations that are flying around. Essentially, last lap of the race, Alonso brakes a little bit earlier for turn 6. Russell suddenly arrives, loses the downforce, can't control the car, goes wide, hits the wall, has a very unfortunately massive accident.
And this is why Alonso get penalty, because George Russell can't brake also early.
He's trapped in the middle of the track. I think the FIA has quite a lot to answer for why they didn't immediately red flag it or virtual safety car it or something. There's a horrible video of George Russell on the radio basically screaming red flag, red flag, red flag. I'm in the middle of the track. Still nothing happens for several seconds long.
Yeah, but Alonso did a bad stuff. Let's penalty him.
Stroll actually comes past George Russell's wreckage before the VSC very slowly and very safely, and well done Lance for that. But yeah, just on the Alonso incident, Mercedes were all over this immediately. Like, you can see the GPS traces. It's quite clear what Alonso does. He does brake earlier. He then gets back on the throttle. Then he brakes for the corner, and then he carries on. And all of that, that's what, it catches out Russell. There's a little...
And I mean, so Alonso did the brake test that FIA did.
A bit on Russell. I think you would expect someone to be able to try and mitigate that a little bit, but definitely he was obviously caught out. So it's gone up to the steward.
Big time. I mean, he crashed out.
And the stewards have said, look, actually what we're going to do is we're going to take the crash out of it. We're just going to assess, did Fernando Alonso do anything different that might be, deemed to be erratic or dangerous per the wording of the regulation?
Every time when you have someone after you, you will do something new than what you would have ever done before, the laps before. You will, I mean, just look at Kevin Magnussen. What did he do in Saudi Arabia? Did he, for some reason, started driving slower than he should have done? Maybe.
And ultimately, that's what they found they did. Now, Alonso was claiming that he was having battery deployment problems, that he thought he'd brake a little bit earlier to get a better line out. It's a long blast out from there to turn 9. It all makes logical sense. I think we think back to Brazil last year and his amazing defence against Sergio Perez. What happened there? He varied his lines, he varied his braking, his things like that. These are legitimate tactics, but per Fernando's own words, he got it wrong. So basically, Mercedes have gone, well, you braked, then you got back on the throttle. This must be something really not right. And he's gone, yeah, I tried to change my line, I just messed it up. Now, there's no sort of, there's no firm...
Yeah, you brake tested him. You should be punished for it. You did a mistake. Not our fault.
Conclusion that this was a brake test, so we have to take Fernando at his word. But even at his word, that's pretty poor. Like, he tried to do something clever and he messed it up, and now he's copped a penalty. He's tumbled down the order, and yeah, a pretty shocking end to the race. And I think if you go back and look at the interviews Alonso gave afterwards, he wasn't that uber cool, sort of crafty, as I said, sort of cunning, clever, at ease with everything. Fernando, he was bit rabbit in the headlights. Something's gone wrong here. So yeah, I think that's all. That pretty much sums it up. I hope, but yeah, not the end to the race anybody ideally wants.
Yeah, not the ending that anybody wants, and certainly not the ending that Mercedes wanted from this weekend either. Because Russell was going to be in the points, he's not in the points. He finishes outside the points, as does Lewis Hamilton, as we say. He had to pull over on lap 11, bringing out that virtual safety car. So it's all going wrong for Mercedes, Matt, and presumably that.
Really? I think this is just in the plans. Make the Mercedes even worse. Oh shit.
Starting to get a bit worried now.
Yeah,
Yeah, 3 years later, now we can start being worried that Mercedes can't make a good car.
it's bad, isn't it? So this race last year, Mercedes initially led 1-2. Okay, they didn't convert it, but they've watched in a year Ferrari come from behind to lead by 40 seconds before Russell's wipeout. McLaren have come from being, okay, they weren't the worst, but they were in 10th place in the Constructors' Championship, to coming past and slotting them back. And the whole point of this car moving away from one concept to the other was not to go and win world championships, but it was to have a consistent platform. And yet they're still having massive inconsistencies, massive peaks and troughs. So it's not solved that basic thing. Just
Wait,
nothing.
They haven't? Man, the copium I've heard. They are on it. They are fixing. They are not.
From the team is inspiring. I'm afraid, like, they can put a positive spin on a disaster. Well done, everyone back at the factory, work hard. But the tone is really bad. It's very, very tough. That they have a fundamental problem with correlating the wind tunnel with the on-track data. But Aston Martin use the same rear end, the same wind tunnel until they move, and yet, okay, this season they haven't taken a huge stride forward, but they are at least consistent in a way Mercedes aren't. You know, they're saying they have a physics problem. Well, the laws of physics, not to be too flippant, haven't changed. Mercedes are getting it wrong. I think it's really quite worrying in a sense that
Why? Who cares about machines being bad?
this is not in any way to sort of trivialise the Constructors' World Championships they've won, but the previous generation of cars did fundamentally respond well to having downforce bolted on. Ground effects, whether it's a more holistic package, more nuanced, they seem to really be struggling to get their head around it. They've had a change of technical structure. That's not brought the rewards. You know, they've changed. They've tried to solve the rear end stability. They also had a problem with the gearbox casing stiffness. They fixed that for this year. They've repositioned the cockpit to suit Hamilton's demands. We know that. They fixed that for this year. And yet the car is not only still lacking pace, but as we saw throughout practice, and Hamilton doing an early 2022 spec wild setup to try and find something it responds to, it's just not doing. You know, today in a media session, Wolff is not doing this is the worst weekend I've ever had in F1 like he did repeatedly throughout last year, because I think fundamentally he's a bit drained. He's not playing into that hyperbole, because there's the impression that there's quite a few worse weekends to come. And I don't do all the races. You know, we have quite a good rotation at Autosport, a bit work-life balance. Try to, in theory anyway. But it's the first post-race Wolff session I've had where people are going, are you still the right man for the job? And Wolff is going, I'm open to ideas. I don't think that's in a sense of, if you can name a successor, then appoint one. But it's just that they're looking for areas to find their performance, and they're not bringing it. Okay, Wolff isn't going to be like sacked or anything. It's a bit more nuanced and complicated because he is a shareholder. But you know, it seems like he's not only feeling the pressure, but there's a lot of outside coming on. He's saying, you know, you almost wouldn't blame Lewis Hamilton for looking over the fence, because the next team he's going to has made a massive improvement and they're not. And I think the logical sort of conclusion is that they don't get this fixed for next year either. So they're pinning their hopes on 2026 when engine change, it may all well come good. But this is a disaster. And just worst of all is that they're not going, okay, the next point is this, we focus on all this. They don't have an understanding. They don't have a grasp of the problem.
Isn't that beautiful? Mercedes don't know what to do. I mean, they are, maybe they should start doing some Ferrari stuff. Changing the plans. Go from plan C to plan D to plan A. And then something will happen. Oh, I found it.
I know I've gone on a bit there, but to throw forward to the podcast, we'll do a bit more on this and go in a bit more detail. But I think it's really, really bleak.
Yeah, and I think that Lewis Hamilton, looking at this, he'll think, well, Ferrari's trajectory is definitely an upward one, and Mercedes look like it's going down, and that could obviously be why he decided at that moment to jump ship and move on to Ferrari as well. So it is a concern.
Ett nytt spännande avsnitt av veckans agenda
Go away,
här. Jon Dahl Tomassons första landskamp.
You know, has he for the second time in his career sort of gone left when everyone thought he should have gone right? You know.
Let's see. Yeah, this looks so much better. Okay, that is the reason. This part. Maybe I change this also. Yeah, I would say yes.
The whole going from McLaren to Mercedes, not many anticipated that would pay off so handsomely. We're starting to look like that a Ferrari move could be another brilliant decision.
And they
I mean, brilliant. I mean, somewhat. I mean, going away from Mercedes is the best thing you can ever do. So I don't know why people won't think Max Verstappen would want to go to Mercedes then.
They make their own engines as well, so who's to say their 2026 engine isn't going to be the absolute class of the field?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm going to rattle through the rest of the teams, guys. So here we go. I'm going to start with you, Alex. We're going to just touch on each one as quickly as we can, but give them a bit of a mention. And I think one person that needs a really good mention is Yuki Tsunoda, who's performing really well for RB, and Daniel Ricciardo, who's, what's the word? Not.
Yes, that very much sums it up, Bryn. Very succinct. I've done a bit of live research. Well, I do know what happens.
Yeah. I mean, thanks to Alonso weird penalty, Yuki Tsunoda even get more points. That's
Stroll in this race, and it pretty much concerns Yuki Tsunoda. He jumped ahead of him at the start, and Tsunoda chased him all race, all through the pit stops, and ended up coming behind him. Massive gainer from Alonso's penalty. But I think the really impressive thing, I think that Red Bull and Helmut Marko wanted to see was like great qualifying pace, Yuki. You've got to show something in the race that you can bring home points, and especially on a day when the bigger teams are dropping points. You've got to cash in, and he absolutely did that. So fair play to him. Again, is he in contention for a Red Bull seat? Like, the chat just isn't there. If their whole junior team thing is about promoting people, then he should be. But yet the chat is.
I mean, he will maybe get promoted to Aston Martin, hopefully.
Now,
if Lance Stroll finally leaves the team.
Christian Horner saying we wouldn't rule out Carlos Sainz on coming back to the Red Bull camp and racing alongside Verstappen.
Really? Removing Perez and have Carlos Sainz? No. That's mean.
For next year on performance grounds. So what more can Tsunoda do? He does have, of course, those close links with Honda, and obviously they're going to Aston Martin in 2026. But as you said, Bryn, I mean, there's not really a lot to add with Ricciardo. It's just not happening for him.
Which means for him, Matt, Ricciardo and his eyeing up the Red Bull seat that may or may not be free, he's got to do something, and he's got to do it quickly.
Absolutely. I asked Yuki sort of, what's your end goal here? Are you getting the Red Bull seat, or are you basically stopping Ricciardo? Because, like I say, he's not been linked. And with Ricciardo, okay, this sample size for this year is small so far. I'm looking at a couple of my colleagues in the Australian colleagues in the media centre, carefully listening to what
this race. If he maybe have started high up, man, so many points they could have got, and put them in one house out of the points would be amazing.
I'm about to say next to about them, they're making eye contact, but it's not even as if you can attribute it almost, I don't think, to like the regulation change. You know how his compatriot Mark Webber was fundamentally undone by the Pirelli tyres. He struggled with the 2021 car at McLaren, he struggled with the 2022 car at McLaren, and now this car. So what is that? Is that a fundamental inability to drive around problems? And I have to say, there does seem to be a bit of excuse searching, whether that's him.
Yeah, quite. We need to make. God damn it. Will that look good? Man, I need to change maybe a lot if. Yeah, kinda works. Okay, back to RB mixed results.
Whether that's basically his camp corralling him and telling him, oh, it's not you, or whatever. But so we've got those three cars he struggled in, but this thing where over here, from everything we heard by all accounts, he absolutely wowed Red Bull in the test. So is that?
So he half struggles with this new car.
Did he wow them, or did he compare favourably against Perez rather than being just half a tenth off Verstappen? And how much do you then, with a bit of revisionism, look and go, well, those mega days at Silverstone where he was close in benchmark times, slightly different conditions, slightly more favourable conditions, whatever, because you've got on the one side Red Bull going, this could be the number 2 guy, we need the teammate to Max Verstappen, but what we're seeing on track, apart from Mexico and a sturdy sort of comeback in Hungary, really, really bleak.
Yeah, it's not a great picture, is it, that's being painted at the moment by Daniel Ricciardo, and it's certainly not inspiring many people around. Let's move it on to other teams though. Haas, well, you know what, they may have benefited.
Nothing fun will Haas, will be said. They are still cheating.
Fitted from the two Mercedes not finishing and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, but both drivers in the points, Alex.
Yeah, obviously Kevin Magnussen capitalising with Fernando Alonso and the George Russell incident.
Albon should have got points. If it's bad, man.
But yeah, I mean, magnificent. I mean, what I think the big thing about Haas is that basically they were deliberately underplaying things. I mean, there's no getting away from it. They were outright saying at one point, Komatsu, we're still going to be last in Bahrain. Then they got to the test. All they did was concentrate on making their car better in races. And lo and behold, the work that they put in last year, that extra effort in the testing, it seems to have paid off. They really do have a car they can race with. And also, I know that Komatsu wasn't happy with one of the pit stops and sort of the strategy around that and things that went wrong there. But fundamentally, they're strategically sharp. Like, there was a team order swap, it got enacted, it seemed to pay off for both drivers. Like, and again, obviously, we saw what happened in Jeddah. Kevin Magnussen, you know, the dodgy driving aside, that strategy and the way Magnussen...
Yeah, should get penalised. I mean, Alonso got penalised. Kevin Magnussen should be penalised when they
was superb.
Race
so
ban.
It's all looking up for Haas, really. I mean, the problem is that Gene Haas wants wins, and that's still out of reach. But at least the progress is positive.
Yeah, another positive one. Is it a positive one? Albon. Let's look at him very quickly. Albon, he had to step into his teammate's car essentially after he messed his one up. They were trying to get points. He didn't get any points. He finished just outside the points there. So does that mean that they were wrong to let Albon have a go?
No.
If you're
Why this retarded question? No. Getting chance to get points or not getting points. That's a yes or no question.
Sargent, what are you thinking right now, Matt? Are you reconsidering your thoughts, your dreams when it comes to Formula One? Where do you go from here?
Well, if you're Sargent, as harsh as it sounds, you don't dream too far ahead, because he only got the seat this year by the skin of his teeth, and basically because there were no materially better options available on the market. As for the decision Williams has made, okay, it might not be popular, but it's absolutely the right decision. When you've got such a big performance gap between your two drivers, it's not Piastri versus Norris. There's a gulf between Albon and Sargent, let's get that clear. And when it's critical, you know, the top 5 teams, if they all finish, they lock out the top 10. Well, you've had 3 drivers in the top 10 not finish here, and Williams haven't scored a point. But when you need to offset those, or basically get a point against the odds, you need the standout driver in there, no questions asked. So yes, Albon should have been in that car, but he was reporting the same sort of handling deficiencies, bad car habits this weekend as Sargent was when he was in his. So it's just sort of a Williams limited weekend.
Is his car maybe bad? That's why Logan Sargent is so bad.
Okay,
or less good than Alex Albon.
Williams haven't come away with a point. They can't go away with heroes saying, you know, we were entirely vindicated. But absolutely,
they were close.
It was the right decision.
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because you feel for Logan Sargent, but from a team point of view, with points being so important nowadays, you can see why Williams made that decision. Alex, let's just finish off with the final 2 teams, Alpine and
Alpine and Stake Formula 1. God damn it. Stake Formula 1 team kick Sauber.
Sauber, who've got another penalty.
Oh my god, come on. Wait, when did they only titled it RB? I want to hear what do.
Well, listen, I'm going to rattle through the rest of the teams, guys. So here we go. I'm going to start with you, Alex. We're going to just touch on each one as quickly as we can, but give them a bit of a mention.
Yeah, I want to hear that name.
One person that needs a really good mention is Yuki Tsunoda, who's performing really well for RB. And
oh my god, fucking lazy pippies. Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team. It's so easy to remember. And Stake F1 Formula 1 team kick Sauber. Yeah, go away ad.
Saftigt svenskt nötkött.
It's so easy name. But really, Alpine Sauber. What are they doing?
You feel for Logan Sargent, but from a team point of view, with points being so important nowadays, you can see why Williams made that decision. Alex, let's just finish off with the final 2 teams, Alpine and Sauber, who've got another penalty, a fine, haven't they, because of their wheel nut issues.
Yeah, obviously they were adjusting their pit stop procedures because of the tech, the equipment that they've got this year is going so wrong in the opening 2 rounds, stacking their wheel nuts.
Bottas still get a
in the
nice
pit lane,
pit
losing
stop.
one into the fast lane, and that's ultimately what copped them their fine. It was, however, that was the one pit stop that did seem to go right. You had a Valtteri Bottas pit stop at the start that was a total disaster, and there was a Joe Guan Yu one at the end that was also slow. That one, however, was to do with the fact that he had a gearbox problem. He couldn't select the gear to get out of the pit box. Basically, it wasn't actually, for once, the pit equipment failing.
Done it here.
I mean, it's really poor. It's really sloppy. It's the sort of thing that when that team is Audi, you're going to say, how on earth can you be making that mistake with the level of resources you've got that you're not necessarily investing into the car, things like that. But yeah, disastrous from Sauber. Alpine, things actually looked a little bit better. You've got Esteban Ocon out of Q2. Okay, helped a little bit. Daniel Ricciardo not in the fight, things like that. There were problems elsewhere, but that seemed like positive progress. And Pierre Gasly as well. Gasly sort of with him this season, obviously his car's bad, but it's like, it's never, when it rains it pours, whatever the cliche is. Twice he's gone over the pit lane exit line. In qualifying, gets a reprimand for doing it, and in the race is a 5-second penalty. And I was really confused. Maybe I can clear something up for some people if they were equally confused, because I definitely saw Lando Norris go over the line, Charles Leclerc, George Russell. I'm fairly sure Perez did it as well. But actually, this is one of those really weird tracks, I think might even be the only one, where the solid line, it's a yellow line here, the solid line ends at the safety car 2.
Oh yeah, he's talking about the Gasly weird going over the line,
which is just under that bridge. After that, there is a dotted line that appears from the camera at the back to still be a solid line. It's not, it's dotted. The other drivers were cutting across that. Gasly was going to do that, did it too early, copped a silly penalty. So yeah, again, it's just like, when can Alpine catch a break is sort of their vibe leaving this weekend as well.
Fuck, it's not open. Man, I'm blind. It's like the most closed off ever. God damn it.
And it's not like Gasly hasn't got the experience to know better either now. So naughty slap on the wrist for him. Don't do it again. Well, let's have a look at the points then, shall we? As it all stands after 3 rounds after this Australia.
Let's see. Ooh, Charles Leclerc, 4 points. Oh man. Next race he can lead the championship. And I mean, this will just Verstappen not like. I mean, Perez, 5 points from Max Verstappen. He will do some many blogs on why Perez is also the doomsday of Red Bull. Christian Hornet, Perez. Yeah, the whole Red Bull is against Max Verstappen. You just look, he didn't finish the race. It must be an inside job.
Grand Prix, and it is Max Verstappen leading the way. Even though he has that retirement, he sits on 51 points. Then Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari is second on 47. Sergio Perez in third, so not a disaster for him, on 46, just behind. And then Carlos Sainz on 40, so very tight at the top. Then a big jump down to Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, and a bit of a jump again between the next ones running down the list with George Russell and Fernando Alonso. Good to see Oliver.
Wait. Oh my god. I remember I need to run even further to get to the right place. Yeah, we have it. Okay, so it's the same. At least for now.
Behrman's still there on 6 points. He's still in the rankings.
6 points, 2 points behind Lewis Hamilton, the worst driver, and oh my god, Lance Stroll soon more points than Hamilton. This can't look good for Lewis Hamilton.
Still doing quite well in the ranking, even though he's only going to race once this season.
4 points. Hey, this is the old numbers. Yuki Tsunoda should have where do we have it? Yeah, 6 points. So this list they are looking at is old. let's see if you go to. Oh my god, where? I mean, they have standings. Fuck is. Where is the F1 standings? Oh man, come on. The fuck is this? Man. Come on, give me... well, we go to the most easy way to see the scores. Let's see... Oh, we need to refresh. No? Is this... It can't be the scores. No! Fuck is this? Nope. Okay, let's see if I can find this in the... Oh! There. I was thinking. God damn it. Okay, here we have it. So, Oliver Behrman and Yuki Tsunoda on 6 points each. Oh my god. Yuki Tsunoda, 2 more points and he is equally good as Lewis Hamilton. Let's see. Oh, Fernando Alonso soon better than George Russell. And 1 point between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. And yeah. Hopefully a good race for Charles Leclerc next race, and then he can be the championship leader. Okay, go back to... Yeah. The... Autosport clip.
You would imagine. But there you go, that's the drivers' standings. What about the teams?
No, it isn't. The fake news. This... Yeah, this is right. Wait. So they got the old one from
still
this
in
one.
the ranking, still doing quite well in the ranking, even though he's only going to race once this season, you would imagine. But there you go, that's the drivers' standings. What about the teams, the constructors?
Yeah, fake news of the standing, and this look more right because they actually have 6 points.
As well, Red Bull lead the way on 97, not far behind.
Oh, 4 more points, and then Ferrari can also lead the construction ship.
No, Ferrari just 4 back on 93. Then a big jump to McLaren on 55. And who's the 4th best team? Is it Mercedes or is it Aston
I mean, soon Aston Martin.
Martin? We just don't know, but we're going to have to wait and see. But that is it for our
Soon
coverage
we
from
will.
the Australian Grand Prix. Before we go, though, I mentioned it, I'm sure, at one point here, that it is Matt's final one. He's disappearing off. He's leaving us for pastures new and a fresh challenge. So we thought,
What?
in time-honoured tradition, that we should look back at Matt's highlights.
You mean not highlights?
Right, there you go. That was your highlight there, Matt.
Yeah,
Any final thoughts?
great highlight.
It's been an absolute privilege working for Autosport.
Okay, so people that don't know about Mambo Jumbo try to do a slime farm in season 9, and I wouldn't say I'm trying to do a slime farm, but mining out all this stuff gives slimes a reason to spawn. So great Minecraft play than Jumbo Wumbo. Eller Mambo Jumbo. Oh my god. Yeah, back to...
And thank you very much to all the viewers, listeners, readers for bearing with me. And yeah, I'll now sort of be one of them. I'll be watching all of these videos, listening to all the podcasts, reading all the articles. So keep up the good work, everybody else.
And you know just how it gets put together. Matt, thank you very much indeed. We wish you all the very best with your
Could be season 10.
fresh challenge as well. And thanks to you too, Alex.
Cheers.
Well, there you go. That's the end of
Yeah, because I think season 9 was the weird one.
our coverage, our race review for Australia. Don't forget, 2 weeks before the Grand Prix train chuffs on
Great race review.
to
Let's
Japan
finish this and then
for
we
a slightly less early start for us here in Western Europe, but still early enough. Don't forget, you can catch all the news, all the updates
true.
as they happen by subscribing and liking all the videos here at Autosport. Just give us a subscribe and we'll keep you up to date. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Yes, sure. Let's see. Yeah. The Perez, I mean, wonder what problem Perez had. He couldn't do anything, trying to even get on podiums. And I mean, vadå? Team order. Eller Norris was faster and just drove away from Piastri. I mean, I don't know. How can this Alonso... Jag menar, Josh Russell just didn't do a great drive after Alonso.
I år firar Mila
Go away then. Mean ad trying to... Oh wait.
125 år.
Quiet. It was just a short ad. We can go back. Hype. But the Alonso incident, I mean... I see. One more slide. Just spawning and spawning. I mean, look. This is just being here. And I don't even try to kill every slime. But yeah, I think FIA was really trigger happy with give Alonso and penalty. I mean, he just... Josh Russell could just not crash out. And should Mercedes be worried? I mean, if they have equal a lot of copium, like all the fans and all the media and all the people that talk about Mercedes, they will not be worried because they will believe in that they will be good soon. I mean, just 3 years they will be good. After maybe in 2026 or 2025 they will be good. I promise. Maybe 2027. And I hope Ricciardo will get some points soon. Because I want Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team to be good. And Haas can go away. And Williams. Man, they need to have a good race. Get some good points. So Haas can be lost. And Alpine and Sauber, no. Stake Formula 1 team. No, F1 team. Just RB that have Formula 1 team. Stake F1 team, kick Sauber. Need to... I mean, they have started the year really bad. And all the talk from Stake F1 team Formula... Stake F1 team, kick Sauber and Alpine. They talk about making a good car and then they have a bad car, and Haas start the season saying they have the worst car, and then they don't have the worst car. Yeah, let's go from Autosport. And we go to this title is so misleading, but hey, let's say it. The funniest tweets from the 2024 Australian Grand Prix and from P1. And it's rarely funny tweets and just, I mean, tweets. I wouldn't say so funny, but let's see. How will this video have some funny tweets?
Hello everybody and welcome back to the funniest tweets.
And that's a lie, it's never so funny.
Today! Oh, baby.
Oh, let's see. What funny tweets can you make? Something about Max Verstappen and his car. Maybe some tweet about Perez. Maybe what can you say? Something, a joke that the race is boring, and then you show Carlos Sainz win the race because nothing really happened. What are you doing? The chicken hand. Is the chicken really in the glass? Yeah, you're on a weird chicken. Okay, what more funny can I do? I mean, maybe I meme about Mercedes being good, maybe. Maybe something about Alonso and George Russell could be maybe a funny joke. What more happened? Maybe Piastri and Norris meme. Piastri need to let Norris by. Yeah, let's see.
We're going to talk about the Australian Grand Prix, which is a weird thing to be like so hyped up for. Like, oh my goodness me, what a great race we had. No, the race was pretty shocking, but we got
shocking and boring.
A change, something new for Formula One that happened. Your tweets were amazing as always, so let's dive into them right now. Verstappen DNF. Yes, this segment is real. Do not refresh your screens. Max Verstappen DNF'd on lap 3, which, I'm not going to lie, woke me up quite aggressively. I was ready for an absolute barnstormer between McLaren and Ferrari. It looked so close between them in the early stages. And then Carlos Sainz decided to not have an appendix. So let's start with @L_Rushy. OMG, OMG, a Max DNF. I couldn't believe it. I think.
Okay, so yeah, funniest tweets ever, and this is the start.
I think we all just thought he was inevitable. We've spoken a lot, haven't we, about can he win every race? He can't win every race, and apparently that is the case. Already we have had a Max Verstappen non-win, but not just that. There are some strange little aligning things that are going on with Max Verstappen having problems. So let me talk you through the first one. The first one is that in the last 2 seasons, the Japanese Grand Prix being the next race, Max Verstappen has a stinker. So perhaps we found the cure there. But also, George Russell DNFing on the last lap, Max Verstappen, it's early, Max Verstappen having issues means a Carlos Sainz win. Bit of an odd coincidence. @JohnDale1, as a British F1 fan right now. Yeah, lots of complaining, of course, from European fans. And look, I've soaked it up. Whatever. Not going to complain. Everybody else has it much harder than Europeans for start times.
Yeah, still I mean, this is still not funny, and you still fucking lose it.
But my goodness me, you know. I don't know how to feel. That's the problem, because I was so excited for an absolute banger. And what we saw is that just because Max Verstappen didn't exist in that race does not equate to an absolute worldie. The fight for P2 gang decided, you know what? I'm not actually going to get in DRS. We're not going to have any wheel-to-wheel battling. I was so ready for a Sainz versus Leclerc battle for the win. And I'm also starting to process that if Charles Leclerc had won the race, he'd be leading the World Championship.
Yeah.
Don't want to talk about that anymore.
Why not?
But instead, Carlos just...
Oh, that could be a lot of meme. Charles Leclerc could have leading a championship because make fun of him.
Put on his chef's hat and cooked a masterclass of a meal. At Azura liked me after seeing Max have
still not funny.
A problem with his car.
Fucking
now, I don't wish
British
any ill will on Max
losers.
Verstappen or his races or whatnot, but of course a lot of us fans wonder what would it have been like without Max Verstappen leading a race. Well, we saw that. It was boring. There was a strategy race. There were still things to obviously keep intrigued about. We didn't actually see much wheel-to-wheel action, and that's where a lot of people will jump to saying it wasn't a great race.
Yes.
But what I will say... And this might be
the only thing was great was Carlos Sainz win, both Mercedes out, Yuki Tsunoda 6 points, Lando Norris P3.
Controversial is that I think we would have had a better race had Max Verstappen still been in.
Like I think also, if Max was still in the race, could Carlos Sainz still have won the race?
Now, I'm not saying I think that Max still would have won had he not had problems, but what I am saying is we might have actually had a bit more wheel-to-wheel action at the front. So Max not being there took that away from us.
True.
Dashwin_13. So this backs up what I was just saying about Carlos taking advantage of whenever Max has a problem. Verstappen has an inconvenience. Carlos Sainz. Honestly, how does that man not have a seat for next year right now?
Yeah, funniest tweets ever.
If he ends up in that green wheelie bin of a Stake F1 team car, it's going to be so unfair on him. Mercedes, just sort him out. I was of the opinion, look, he needs to bed in his roots, go to Stake for a year and then hope Audi are okay. No, screw that. Go to Mercedes, which, I mean, they're not looking... Well, they're looking better than Stake, but they're not looking great, are they? But probably better than what Stake will be next year. At Shift Happens,
Lies.
F1, Rebel Mechanical Failure, F1 fan.
I mean, this is 4 minutes and 41 seconds. Now we getting at least somewhat funny.
And look, we were baited. You know, we were all so confident we were going to get a worldie. We didn't, unfortunately. At the Milcurian, marked safe from Max domination today.
Okay, I know. Why not make this a holiday or celebration day? Where you can remember the day when Max Verstappen had a DNF and someone else won.
But instead, we were asking the question, could Carlos Sainz dominance bore F1 fans?
Yes.
No, Ferrari had a 1-2. I am feeling good today. Tiny bit of, oh my god, it wasn't Charles that won. But so happy for Carlos.
This I would say, Charles Leclerc will be winning a race. I mean, at Monaco, Baku, don't worry about it. Charles Leclerc will have time to shine.
When we spent that hour with him last year, that I'm sure you would have seen the podcast, it went really big. I had a full appreciation of not just him as a driver, but him as a person. And yeah, I fell in love with Carlos a little bit that day. He's a great man.
A new lover. Max in his hotel by lap 30. Yeah, probably. Much more fun to drive in a simulation.
Max in his
simulator
hotel by lap 30.
scroll.
Oh my goodness me. I mean, look, it's Max will be fine. I am very
Yeah, I would say this is almost good also.
convinced that the Japanese Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time is going to be won by him by 2 laps. The revenge tour will start again.
No, don't say that. Be more hyped that Lando Norris will succeed to make a so good car that he can actually fight for the win and maybe win the race.
What was he on? 10 wins in a row? Then Carlos has taken it away from him. Maybe another 10 is on the way, but no! We have hope. Ferrari are right behind Red Bull in the Constructors. The top 3 are separated by 5 points in the Drivers' Championship. Let's get the delusion train fully leaving the station now. Azteca lad. F1 fans have the max.
Okay, no, late.
DNFs and there are still no battles for the win. Yep. No, I told you. We got all very confident and it didn't work out. Carlos Appendix. So, of course, a lot of people are now talking.
That's something a meme. That he also said that maybe more drivers should remove it.
Talking about perhaps all the other F1 drivers are now queuing up to have their
Axe Dark Temptation body spray.
No, go away ad. 16-second ad.
Allt är möjligt med en oemotståndligt fräsch doft. Lukta oemotståndlig. The Axe Effect.
No. Something is wrong, yes.
I've got nothing.
Still need one more block here.
Hold on, I can do something.
One more ad. No!
It's amazing what you can do with nothing and a little helmet. Make taste, not waste.
their appendix removed at Mandwale.
Okay, yeah, funniest tweets now.
Dropping some power. I mean, this is a wild little meme we've got going on here. But the gist of it is you remove your appendix and you're unbelievable. I genuinely, we need to put some respect on Carlos's name after this Grand Prix. Not only did he drive incredibly well, but 2 weeks ago he was hobbling back into the paddock and he's been resting up. Which means
true.
he hasn't been working out probably as much, probably wasn't in 100% peak condition. But what he did was deliver an absolutely sensational performance. Not only did he win, but he won convincingly. I'm pretty sure he had maybe had some time in the bank at the end, although he was saying his tyres were running out a little bit. But either way, he managed the race beautifully. He was the one that delivered in qualifying, and that pains me to say it. The one time Charles Leclerc doesn't get on the front row, Max Verstappen has a problem. But Carlos...
No! That's depressing. Every time Charles Leclerc get P1, he loses the race. He doesn't win the race. Then Carlos Sainz just go and wins the race.
Carlos saw the opportunity and took it. Without an appendix. At Sintana, Max, every time he is on a long streak, I fear no man, but that thing, especially with no appendix, it scares Max.
Fuck me. I mean, this is what I mean. The funniest tweets from the 2024. I mean, man, this is
At
so
Forza
sad.
Francesca Carlos without an appendix. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything that you can say that would be like, maybe it did help. Maybe not having an appendix, or maybe the whole process. Perhaps seeing Ollie Behrman in his seat, he's visualised not being at Ferrari next year and gone, no. Because, oh God, I'm so pained as well. I'm sure a lot of you watched the podcast. I was going to biggest good surprise Carlos Sainz. I literally wrote it in the sheet and then went, no, he's probably going to be a little bit off the pace because you've got to give him some time to get better. And he won the blooming thing.
True.
At Alex Humphrey _33. This is probably the best non-appendix meme. This is.
No, this is no.
Great, Carlos Sainz.
Don't
Without
lie.
an appendix, the entire
It's
F1
bad to
grid.
lie.
Let's see. Will Carlos Sainz now win the World Championship?
No.
Maybe. Let's keep the hopes high that we could get a fight. Maybe. In 2024 Formula 1, when we all thought everything was lost. We're back. Kind of. Sauber shocker. I thought I'd include a little segment because apparently Sauber can't do pit stops anymore. Almost every stop they have, and I'm pretty sure F1 rolled a replay of Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber doing a good pit stop, and they showed it in the broadcast because it was such a rare occasion.
I mean, you must celebrate when something good happens. Yeah, I mean, this you can say is somewhat funny. You get Vietnam flashback every time he goes to the pit stop.
At @Cell_Stone, Valtteri when there's a problem with his tyres in the pits. I mean, what are they doing? Apparently there's the problem with cross-threading the nuts or whatever, but apparently they might have still done that today. They're a sham. They kind of gave us this idea of, they're going to be so good this year, or not at least, or they're going to be a surprise, or... No, they're the laughing stock. They're last. I mean, that and Alpine. It's a fight between those two. I mean, they are the dustbin.
Alpine is a bigger joke.
At Cupcakey, can someone please help Stake F1 Team with their pit stops? They need the manual. They need an F1 pit stops for dummies. Surely they've not, changed their entire pit crew / mechanics for this year.
No, I think they have changed the stuff they're using. The stuff is new, and apparently it doesn't work good.
The car looks great, it's very vibrant, but the problem is they then stand out even more in the pits when they're having bad stops. Albon DRS train, Sauber stops for the 2020.
Yeah, half good.
Before season be like, box Bottas without crossing threading the nut or draw 25. But at least Bottas is having a great time. That ad that he did was simply sensational. I am loving Valtteri Bottas in his fun era. It is the best.
Yeah, maybe outside the F1 Formula 1 racing, but not in the Formula 1 racing.
Honourable mentions. So I'm going to include this next meme because it is the same template as the one we just finished, but it actually made me laugh quite a lot. At Default.
I mean, somewhat funny. Russell is have a lot of cars.
TBD, Singapore all over again. Overtake on the last lap without crashing or draw the whole deck. George Russell. I feel really bad actually about this because I've seen the replay, and we'll get into this a little bit more in the Full Race podcast. But George Russell didn't really do much wrong because you can see on the telemetry, which, to be fair, the graphics are a little bit, you can. They're probably not as in sync as they suggest. But Alonso did slam on the brakes going into that fast right-hander. Russell obviously closes up a lot, not expecting that. Loses the front end and flies into the wall. Alonso definitely played a part. And as of recording right now, we don't know if he got a penalty or not.
Yeah, he did.
But I don't think...
I mean, this is what I would say. Have a driver that have someone behind them. They have never changed up how they drive a lap to make the driver behind not getting past. If no, okay, give him a penalty. But if yes, then it's weird to give him a penalty.
I think Alonso is as in the clear as maybe a lot of people think after seeing Russell in the wall and immediately assuming he's lost it on the last lap. There's a lot more that happened with that. At Cybercoda NHA. Oh, Leclerc trying to understand Gunter post-race. I did not have Gunter Steiner doing post-race interviews on my 2024 bingo card. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I think I did. Bit sad that he's not, doing things in Formula 1. Well, in terms of actually making a team work, but I don't know. It was his first time doing it. He's going to get better. But Yeah, very odd to see that. At back from 1955, Checo thinking he was going to pull away from Fernando. I love it. Fernando gets overtaken by Checo very easily, and we're thinking, well, you know, Checo's going to drive off into the distance. Then Fernando held on to that DRS for dear life. He, probably big brain thinking, thought, well, I'll just try with the 4 DRS zones around Melbourne to just hang on to the Red Bull, and he did. So that was great. The Russell incident, I'm sure we'll have a huge debate. At Khalid Qureshi, Alonso and Perez today. I love the Mr. Bean movie and just Mr. Bean in general, as a lot of you I'm sure will know. But this is actually so apt of like how...
Oh shit, let's see. The Checo thinking he was going to pull from Fernando and... Okay, this funniest ways, no.
Checo thinking he was going to pull away from Fernando. I love it. Yeah, I thought, well, it was great. Huge. At Khalid Qureshi, Alonso and Perez today.
This is better.
I love the Mr. Bean movie and just Mr. Bean in general, as a lot of you I'm sure will know. But this is actually so apt of like how it worked out. But yeah, Alonso. He's a smart cookie, that one. At Brovo010, how I feel after hearing the Italian national anthem. It's just such good vibes, isn't it? It's a good feeling. A Ferrari 1-2. This is what dreams are made of. It's great for Formula 1. I know Max DNF, you know, it's a shame because I would have been interested to see how many seconds he would have won the Australian Grand Prix by. But it's great for Formula 1 that it's a Ferrari 1-2, and perhaps it'll inject a little bit of life into this season. Maybe.
Oh my god. How should it be? The glass should be here. And it will be stone here. So the removal of the glass wasn't needed. Oh my god. Fucking... Okay, and then we go and do the opposite. God damn it. That's done. Okay, let's see. Leclerc during the post-race interview against... Okay, maybe
Riyad Faris, Leclerc during the post-race interview with Gunter. Yeah, there was a difficulty in understanding, and maybe even just the volume of Gunter kind of...
Ursäkta, du glömde din väska på kaféet.
Oj, tack snälla.
Varsågod. Gör det som känns bra i magen. Valli.
No, don't do it.
Smidig rakning och exfoliering i varje drag. Med rakblad som håller 50% längre.
Projecting his voice for the person he's interviewing. But yeah, there's another one actually. Joe Goat 6p. Me seeing Gunter again. It was lovely. It was lovely to see how Gunter, not just in a vineyard in Drive to Survive, but actually at the track. He couldn't say no to the paycheck.
This is not funny.
He's far too good television. At _Brink, a Verstappen and Hamilton 1-2 fight going on down under. It's funny. It's
okay. This is actually funny. This is how the list actually was.
Seeing that snapshot of Verstappen and Hamilton both out, you did wonder, are we in 3 years ago right now? But no, they didn't do anything to each other. Completely different incidents. So proud of them. At Ackman _backbar, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen out of the race. Where did I see this before? Is this Monza 2021? Or to be fair, a lot of races from 2021 where they came together. At Ranny Dick, George Russell, yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. Yeah, it was. You saw the image, didn't you, of him just like there?
Yeah, true. How did it end up
And
like
you
that?
thought, geez, he's had a massive impact. Where, of course,
But funny, no, I don't think so.
Albon's had that crash this year and last year, and you know, your first thoughts are, I hope George is okay. Then you saw the replay, and actually, it was quite a slowish incident compared to some that we see. And then the wheel obviously buckling under made it look a lot worse as a post-crash picture. But thankfully, obviously, George was okay, and it was quite the scene.
Yeah, it would. Oh no. And this will be the worst tweets ever.
Right, it is now time for Tommy's Tasty Tweets, sponsored by EA.
Worst taste tweets ever. It will not be funny.
An F124. Who has won a game that's not been released yet, but the funniest tweet of today?
The funniest tweet of today is from Jade. And it's this Gunther Steiner in his interview era.
I mean...
And what...
funniest tweets ever. And then we have the Tommy's Tasty Tweets. And oh my god. Are you trying to pick up the worst tweets ever, or... This is not close funny or I not still. What does Tommy's Tasty Tweets mean? I mean, it's not tasty. It's everything but tasty.
Photoshop skills on point, and
no,
yeah,
everything
what
is
a
just
surprise to see Gunther doing the interviews. I did not see that.
No, I loved it. I loved the meme. So well done, Jade. You have won a copy of F124 when it releases. And if you want to be in with a chance, then use hashtag P1, and you may well be featured in the Japanese Grand Prix. Thank you, Tommy. See you soon. Lots of love.
Bye.
No, it should be glass.
Right, that is it. Thank you so much for watching the funniest tweets to the Australian Grand Prix. We got a different winner. Carlos Sainz turning up once again as soon as Max has problems. And yeah, maybe, just maybe, we have a fight on our hands.
No.
The World Championship.
We
maybe.
will not have.
We'll see. But thank you so much for getting involved in this series as
not with Carlos Sainz, but with Leclerc and Marvin Norris.
always. And we'll see you very soon for another piece of content. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was, yeah, like always, funniest tweets ever. No, it was not as close. Hey, let's go to actually some fun stuff, because I mean, Peter Vindsor need to talk about Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, and let's see. The 2024 F1 Australian GP race analysis by Peter Vindsor. Let's hear the expert about some maybe copy about Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, but mostly fun stuff, maybe.
Wow, Carlos Sainz has won the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. He really, really deserved that. After the whole business, I mean, the appendicitis in Saudi Arabia, how quick he was with appendicitis on the Friday in Saudi Arabia on that long run. He was as quick as Charles. Then the operation, then back on Sunday, then coming here, looking sharp. All in the knowledge that he'd lost his Ferrari drive, and he's losing his Ferrari drive at the end of 2024, and everything now has to be proved in order to get his life back together again. I mean, what are the options out there? We'll get onto those in a minute. And there's a different atmosphere to Ferrari now. Everybody knows on Charles' side of the garage that Carlos is out there to do the best job he can, obviously for the team, but also for Carlos Sainz. I was in the gym this morning with his dad, and there's this sort of zoned focus on, we just have to make this happen now, and it did. I couldn't believe how well he drove. Just fabulous. I think there are three elements to the win which brought about the win. The first, the most obvious one, was the retirement of Max Verstappen. I'm not saying that Max would have walked away with that race had he not had that brake problem, and we'll get onto that in a minute, exactly what the problem was or what we think it was. But certainly, obviously, Max not being in the race gave a completely different complexion to the way Carlos could drive it, and that meant having free air, because, and don't forget he had actually passed Max before he stopped, but he had the free air, and in free air, if you've got an issue with the tyres potentially going to graining pretty quickly, and Ferrari were doing a better job up until that point of managing the graining than any other team, even better than Red Bull. All the data and the evidence show on both Friday and Saturday. But if you're going to have a graining problem, you want to be in free air. That is the one place that you're going to be in best shape to do it. And Carlos absolutely perfectly maximised that at the front of the race. It was that opening stint and how long he was able to run that stint that then put him in a position to dominate the race, to dominate.
Yeah, but if Charles Leclerc had a good car, then Charles Leclerc will dominate.
Charles, because his tyres were always going to be newer, he stopped much later, and that was key to it.
Yes.
I think that the other element, though, which we shouldn't underplay, is how good Carlos was in qualifying, and how that not only was he quick in qualifying, quick enough to be on the front row and nearly to get the pole, but also his speed nudged Charles Leclerc into overdriving the car on that Q3
now is
run.
the boring stuff.
That was Charles obviously making a mistake and going over what those Pirelli softs could do in terms of heat and load and everything that Charles was putting through them, whereas Carlos was in the middle sector, was letting the tyres breathe and using the grip of the softer tyre where it mattered most in sectors 1 and 3. Really good. Charles was just all adrenaline, slightly discombobulated that Carlos had been so quick, and that's why I think he overdrove. And that was the moment, you could argue now, looking back, that won in the Grand Prix, because had he not started ahead of Charles, he may not have.
Yeah, maybe. It could be maybe a easy Charles Leclerc win.
Done it, and that it all came together, and it all came together because of what happened in qualifying. So, 100% brilliant job by Carlos Sainz, and a disappointing result, therefore, for Charles Leclerc. And he shouldn't at this stage. We've been saying how he's got all that behind him and doesn't make mistakes. Well, it wasn't a massive mistake, but he did overdrive the car, and it was enough to move him to the third row of the grid. He was lucky to get back to the second row and start right behind Carlos on the dirty side of the grid because of a 3-place grid penalty that was handed out to Sergio Perez, who had impeded Nico Hülkenberg. And so you had the two Ferraris behind one another. And I was thinking, first corner, Carlos here, Leclerc there, maybe Carlos leaves a slight gap, Leclerc's not going to hesitate. But luckily for them, Lando Norris made a good start and got between them, and so it was never an issue. Luckily for Ferrari, I guess you could say. And after that, it was just Carlos Sainz, confident, loving the feel of the car. As I've said,
maybe too good of a race for Carlos Sainz because it made it so boring.
In the last two videos on Friday and Saturday, in terms of the work and the focus that Ferrari have had over the winter, where they wanted to improve from last year, it was basically to give themselves a bigger sweet spot, take some top speed out of the car if they had to in order to do that, more downforce in other words. And if there was going to be a circuit amongst the early tracks that was going to reward that specific program, it's Melbourne, it's Albert Park. As I say, there's no outstanding feature here. You just have to be pretty good everywhere, and that's what the Ferrari is. I don't think it'll be the same story in Japan. I don't think it'll be the same story in China, because
but maybe for McLaren it will be a good story in Japan.
Straights are longer there, and Red Bull definitely still has a top speed advantage. But here at Albert Park, particularly with the compounds that Pirelli brought and what that induced Charles Leclerc into doing, it was Carlos Sainz who benefited massively and used it. Well, he didn't benefit, he maximised it, as I said. And just, I can't understate how big that win was. Because when he's coming back from all this euphoria about Oliver Behrman and what he did in Saudi Arabia, and not detracting from him at all. But it does show that the Ferrari is a pretty drivable car. When a rookie like that can just get in and feel relatively at home and drive as well as Oliver did. And that's to the credit of the engineers over the winter who've done that job on the Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, the Mercedes also have equally good team.
So you have this weird situation now where Carlos Sainz drives as well as he did, has a weekend like this, knowing that he's basically...
And the Mercedes talking point will be funny.
going to be fired by the team at the end of the year, or has been fired, and this is his last season with Ferrari. It's a really bizarre situation. And now that this has happened, it comes under the heading of this is against the natural order of things, because Leclerc-Sainz is a pretty good team, as I've been saying for several years. It's a very well-balanced team in terms of the style of technique of the two drivers and how they balance one another out, and allowing Charles to do what he needs to do because he's good, and we know that he is good over a season, and allowing Carlos to be at Ferrari and do what he does, and they balance one another very well. There was no reason to change that, and yet they're changing it and putting Lewis in the car.
Yeah, also he have a lot of talking point that having two good drivers is bad for the team. It's better to have one good driver and one slightly good driver. But I mean, for somewhat can that make sense? But if the two good drivers will actually fight with each other than against each other, wouldn't that be the best team ever?
It's a really strange situation. I can't think of a similar situation ever in the history of the sport, to be honest, when you've got something like that, a really good combination, and suddenly you're just blowing it all apart. I'm not saying Lewis isn't going to go well at Ferrari. He is, of course, but...
yeah, he will, but not... It will be a big mistake for Ferrari to put Hamilton in Ferrari, but it will be good for Ferrari to put him in Ferrari? Wait, what do you mean, Peter Wisher?
Leclerc-Sainz, not a bad driver combination. A better driver combination, you got to say right now, than Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez. Because here's the next point. If you got the RB20, I guess it was only the Mercedes drivers that were saying it today, but they would, because the car was terrible. The Mercedes was terrible, as it's looked most of the
I mean, it must be funny for Hamilton to be in this good car.
Since the start of the year, Lewis was nowhere, even though he started on softs, and George was struggling all the time, even to stay with Mason Martin. Whenever they got near Sergio Perez, it was that car's a rocket ship. Both of them used the same word, I think. And it would be relative to Mercedes. But Sergio Perez, today, in the sole RB20 in the race, when Max has a problem, that's when Red Bull need him to step up and be on the podium. Okay, he had that three-place grid.
What?
He went from 3rd to 6th, and it was really difficult, I suppose, for him to do much after that. But put it another way, if Max was in that car today, in that situation...
Yeah, Peter Wisher, we need to fix this. Where is my stone? And then I mean... I want this, but in a slightly full chest. Fuck is this? Or have I already? Took the all stone. This is weird. Okay, back to... Yeah, maybe Perez... Schneider talk.
Situation starting where he was. Do you think he would have been P5? I think he would have beaten the McLarens. He may not have beaten the Ferraris, but he would have beaten the McLarens, I think. And that is a interesting point now, because we're still getting back to the job Carlos Sainz did. Because there's no way now that the top teams can't be thinking seriously about Carlos Sainz.
I mean, you have talked yourself about Carlos Sainz. He's good, but he's never the best. So the team think also that. He's maybe good, but not the best. So why waste time on him?
And at Red Bull now, you'd have to be saying Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen are not a bad combination. I personally think Max will be okay with Carlos Sainz in the other car. And maybe that's what they will do now. Maybe as a result of what's happened, this has opened
maybe.
Red Bull
Could be
for Carlos Sainz to replace Sergio Perez. I heard in the paddock area from various sources that are pretty reliable that Sergio's already renewed his contract for next year, in which case...
Hype! Man, so Max will leave then. Josh Verstappen and Max will leave Red Bull then. If Paris is still in the team, Max can stay there. It's doomsday. Can stay in a team that are falling apart.
You'd say, what was the rush? A little bit like Lando re-signing so early for McLaren, a long-term deal. What was the rush? You'd say that about Red Bull with Sergio Perez as well. And if that's the case...
Yeah, Peter was so thinking so that, man, Norris signing for McLaren, that's bad when Mercedes exists. Yeah, Mercedes exists. Look, why do Hamilton want to leave Mercedes? Okay. So it's bad for Norris to sign more years with McLaren, but it's not bad that Hamilton leaves Mercedes.
The door obviously then is closed for Carlos Sainz, which leaves really the only option that really works for him would be a plug-in year at Mercedes alongside George Russell, which wouldn't be a comfortable year for Carlos really, just having to jump in the car, George Russell in the other car, all a bit pressure-filled and difficult. Doing so with a contract to join Audi thereafter in his pocket, but then the complications are going to be going from Mercedes to Audi, that if he did that for 1 year he wouldn't be a part of the Sauber Audi organic growth into the 26 car, which would be difficult. You just arrive and just sort of get in the car, but I suppose that's doable. I don't know. I mean, it's all caused by Ferrari making this decision to get rid of Carlos Sainz at the start of the year, even though he's racing for the full year. He's now winning races.
We need blocks.
And Lewis replacing him. And Lewis at the moment not looking very good at Mercedes. Should we talk about Mercedes now? I'm
time for the fun stuff. Talking about how good Mercedes is, and they will surely be good this year. They need just some time, and then they will be up there. Oh, 2 pumpkins. Yes.
Sort of a little bit all over the place, but yeah, got to talk about Mercedes. What a horrendous day. George Russell, first of all, I mean, he's always going to be on the limit. He's always going to be white knuckle.
Yeah, and for some reason, Alonso got a penalty.
And he could do nothing really than to kind of match the Fernando Alonso Aston Martin pace. Fernando made up a lot of time early in the race by correctly taking a bit of a gamble and starting on the hard tyre, using it really well. He in fact gained 4 or 5 positions. He started 10th behind Lance Stroll and eventually finished in front of George. And that's, that was good management, good strategy, good Tom McCullough on the pit wall stuff. And it was George Russell kind of on the limit, ending up having a massive shunt and bringing the race to a premature close. As I say, white knuckle's the only way to describe the way George is driving at the moment. It has to drive in order to be that quick in the Mercedes. And Lewis Hamilton, even slower in qualifying, didn't make it through to Q3. They took the gamble that I mentioned in the video yesterday, which was we got all these soft tyres. Why don't we just run the red soft tyre off the line, hope that there'll be a safety car on the opening lap, which there quite often is in Melbourne. Come in then for the first set of hard, and then run the other set of hard. And Bob's got a great strategy, but there was no safety car on lap 1, so Lewis sank like a stone. He wasn't even really quick anyway on the soft tyre. Came in really early, then went on to the hard tyre and wasn't quick, and then pulled off at the side of the track.
He's washed.
Lots of people were saying, I wonder if there's anything wrong with the car or whether he's just lost interest. Yeah, I'm sure there was something, lost power or whatever it was. So, and he went off as well, didn't he, at turn 1. So really miserable, bad day. Poor performance from Mercedes all round, beaten by their major customer team, McLaren Mercedes, who finished an excellent 3rd and 4th, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri.
And Aston Martin.
Trading fastest laps for a while. Eventually went to Charles
Don't forget Aston Martin is McLaren and Aston Martin. Mercedes so washed.
Did one of his usual things, not chasing Carlos, but going quickly in the last phase of the race and suddenly going magically quick in the last couple of laps, finding something that hadn't been there all race, but too late then by then, of course. And both McLarens 3rd and 4th. Lando was given a little bit of help by Oscar, who was asked to let him pass, but they were different on tyre wear by that point, so fair enough. But there will come a point, I think, when Oscar is going to say,
Scary.
not so sure about this. You know, I'm doing a pretty good job myself, and he drove really well. I thought Lando drove really well. They did that because Lando had more chance of catching Charles Leclerc, which he wasn't able to do. Fairly predictable, but they had to have a go at it. And Lando with a younger tyres was going to be in slightly better shape for doing that. But he finished third, very good third, and Oscar very good fourth. Now let's talk about Charles Leclerc, because this was a difficult day. From the moment he overdrove that car and didn't get the best from it in Q3, and he potentially could have got the pole. He could have got the pole had he done a max type lap where he just managed the tyres perfectly, but he let his adrenaline and his everything else get ahead of him, and he just overdrove the car, as I keep saying. And so then he's behind Carlos on the grid in
like Singapore,
and he saw Carlos make a good start. You could see Carlos racing a little bit with Max, and then his tyres started to go off because he was in more traffic, he was doing more stuff. His tyres went off sooner than Carlos's. Carlos was able to manage the tyres, pull away, and that was it. There was no way after that Charles Leclerc was ever going to be able to beat Carlos Sainz, because Carlos was always going to have the edge on tyre life. And good luck to Carlos, and a very, very difficult, annoying, frustrating race, I'm sure, for Charles Leclerc. Even though he puts on a very good face afterwards, he's very polite and very dignified. He's a really good guy. It was there was no chance for him today to do anything unless Carlos made a mistake or abused the tyres magically or did something like that, which he was never going to do. He's driving too well now for that. And so that was a difficult day for Charles Leclerc, and he will be thinking, well, let's think about what they're all thinking, because it's quite interesting, isn't it? Toto Wolff will be thinking, ugh, and I thought we were on the path to doing something a little bit better. What a day. This is going from bad to worse. Lewis Hamilton will be thinking, oh, mega, I'm going to Ferrari next year. They just finished 1-2.
True.
Aren't I clever? Great job. Ferrari will be thinking, why are we getting rid of Carlos Sainz? Well, half the...
I mean, you yourself say that Carlos Sainz is good, but not great. And they would get Hamilton, so I don't know, why would they even second thoughts about that?
Garage will anyway, and maybe more than half, I would think, and probably some of Italy too. They'll all be looking forward to Lewis going there. It's a huge thing. Share price of Ferrari has quadrupled or whatever it has.
Yeah.
Lewis and
so
Ferrari,
what would the Caddy
Formula One
getting away from Carlos Sainz?
The natural order of things, there's something wrong, because it should be Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and they're putting Lewis in the back end of his career. Great thing for Lewis. And I think he'd rather, if he's going to get beaten by somebody or not be absolutely the great Lewis Hamilton that he was before, he'd rather be in that situation in a Ferrari than just finishing his career at Mercedes. I think that's the way it is. And he'll really enjoy Ferrari, and he will have his good days if it's a good car. For sure, he'll win races there. But it's still...
I mean, it could also not happen. And that will be a funny season. Even in a Ferrari, he will not win any more races.
Not the natural order of things, and it's a strange thing. And when that happens, it upsets everything. Oscar Piastri will be thinking, you know, I'm as good as Lando. I'm getting better all the time, but I'm stuck at McLaren. Wish I hadn't done a long-term deal. He's probably not thinking that, because he loves McLaren.
So what do you even mention it?
They've given him, but he could be thinking that.
Yeah,
he could be thinking.
Lewis Hamilton could think he will end his life also. I mean, he could think that. I mean, a lot of stuff could be thinking of a lot of stuff, but why do you mention it?
It could be in a factory Mercedes from 25.
Yeah, Mercedes could maybe be good after 3 years. It could be. They could have also been good from the start, and it wasn't. Where is that? I don't know. But for now they will be good.
Probably. Lando's probably thinking, well, yeah, okay, I've got my long-term deal at McLaren and it's going okay for me. And George Russell's thinking, why is this car so difficult to drive? And I'm on the edge all the time. I've just had another massive shunt. Not very good. He didn't hurt himself, which was good, of course, but...
Yeah, but Fernando Alonso just wanted to keep his place, and he succeeded. George Russell crashed out again.
Yeah, funny times in Formula One. I always feel slightly out of kilter when things aren't right, when they are not happening in a logical way, and suddenly weird things happen.
Like what?
Lewis goes to Ferrari like that.
That is logical. Why should it stay in Mercedes so bad? What do you mean? That's the real copium. Mercedes will probably be good soon, so I will stay in this bad car. Yeah, sure, that's more logical. Yeah.
It just unsettles you. I don't know. It's just, to me, it feels very strange.
Yeah, because
I'm
you're
speaking
old
of
and
the
don't
motion of the race and
have a
everything we saw
right
today.
thinking.
We're directly opposite the grandstands, and the noise and of the crowd every time something happened that favoured Ferrari or McLaren was incredible. Just.
I mean, why wouldn't I? It's the amazing thing ever to see Ferrari and McLaren up there again.
It was like listening to a football crowd in a stadium. Just
God damn it, need more
amazing.
stone.
And after the race, those three guys, you got to say they're the three pin-up guys of Formula One, aren't they? What a podium to have in Albert Park, Australia, to have those guys, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, and Charles Leclerc on the podium. If you ask any young Australian fan, the three drivers, I'm sure they'll probably throw Oscar Piastri in there as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah, true.
But what a podium that was. Brilliant. So what happened to Max? Well, Max felt there was something weird going on. We were overlooking the Red Bull garage, and even on his formation laps going onto the grid, Max came in at one point. They did quite a lot of work on the right rear, and then they pushed the car back into the garage for a couple of seconds, really, and then he came out again. And one of the mechanics was under the car as well before they pushed it back. And I was trying to see what it was. He couldn't really tell. I just wondered whether it was a strake or something that they were looking at. He maybe damaged the floor even on the outlap. Unlikely for Max to be doing that, of course. But I think that was a sign of things to come, because on those formation laps, Max felt something slightly odd at the rear. We now know that the caliper was grabbing on the disc on the right rear, and there was something amiss there, and that was kind of how he went into the race. It kind of felt okay, as if they'd fixed it, but it wasn't 100%, and it wasn't the same every corner. Does this ring a bell? It's kind of what happened with Charles Leclerc in Bahrain, and I was talking in the previous video about how when I walked down the pit lane between the two sessions on Friday, it was interesting to see a number of Brembo teams changing discs. Not that the dimensions are any different, because the regulations don't allow you to do it, but my assumption is that it was a different batch of discs from a different manufacturing process within Brembo. And I may well be putting two and two together and getting fine.
So someone in Red Bull bought different ones to make sure that Max will look bad. So for some reason, I mean, as just for shopping, he have inside information.
Here, but I'm just offering a suggestion stroke opinion that maybe there is some sort of production drama, and that's what we saw on the Max car as well. Because I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure that Red Bull used Brembo calipers and discs as well, like Ferrari. And if that's so, that probably explains what happened. There's something not quite right there in the manufacturing process. And everybody's very secretive about it. Ferrari are incredibly secretive, which suggests that there is something going on that Brembo don't want to talk about. And I love Brembo.
And Red Bull knew, and still they used the brakes to make Max to look super bad. I mean, 100% he needs to leave the team. I mean, Josh Verstappen never bring up lies. So I mean, just in some days we will know that Max will drive in Mercedes.
Company, but every company does have its ups and downs, and they shouldn't be afraid to talk about things like that, because it's happened to a lot of.
That was the bigger question. Should it be on stone corner, like it's up there, down there? Man, question and question.
Companies that supply Formula One with their tyres, particularly, obviously, over the years, we've had the same thing. So that's what it looks like. And I think the other thing is to remember that if it was going to be something to do with heat or the brakes not being up to it, it would have been the fronts that took the caning and not the right rear. So the fact that it's the right rear suggests that there is something going on with the brakes there. Looking at the other results, Fernando P6 in the Aston Martin. I'd say good call to put him on the hard tyre. That's why he was P6 and not P8 or 9, because he picked up positions when all the pit stops happened quite early on. He was on the hard tyre and he did a good job on the hard tyre in that first stint. And then on the mediums, he wasn't actually as effective as he had been on the hard. Just shows how soft the medium is. And the Aston Martin very quickly degrade. Well, the tyres grained on the Aston very, very quickly. But you know, not a bad result after a pretty poor qualifying session when he went off and damaged the floor. Yuki Tsunoda P8 in the Visa Cash App Special.
Oh my god, you almost did the right name. Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team.
Really good drive again. He's just so good now, just racking up points. Almost unnoticed. Just very, very good and very consistent. Very professional. You know, there's a lot of talk about all these young guys out there, but I think we need to start beating the drum for Yuki Tsunoda and how well he's doing. Daniel Ricciardo in the other car. A good yardstick, but you know, he did use track limits and he does struggle to be as quick as Yuki in qualifying. That led to the track limits thing, you could argue. Drove pretty well too in the race, but Yuki was the outstanding one. Jody Eddington and the guys have done a really good job in that team. It's looking very sharp now. No disrespect to Franz Tost, but it's looking like a different team, I think, and all credit to them.
They have a future.
And then 9th and 10th, I've been going on really ever since Scarb said that he didn't think Haas were going to go well. I've been going on about how I thought with that management that they've got now.
Oh my god, what does that say about Steiner then?
Get so much out of those two drivers in a much
Gene
calmer
Haas did the right thing.
And very simple approach to the development of the car, because they can't do much anyway. They don't complicate things there. It's a lovely looking team again. And 9th and 10th, what can you say? Both of them in the points. Fabulous result for Haas Ferrari. Full marks
Yeah,
for them
they look
too.
better.
Very, very good to see that. And the small is better. Isn't that what we're learning here? I mean, you've got all the complication at Mercedes, all those management operations of the design of the car and this and that, and look what Haas Ferrari do with a very simple Dallara built car, 9th and 10th. And where were Mercedes at the end of the race? It's not going to stay like that, but I mean, it's a good
One
example
crashed
of
out,
how in
one
motor
broke
racing,
down.
sometimes big is not better, and that was very clear today. And then finally, just out of the points, making you wonder what it was all about, Alex Albon in the Williams. They put him in Logan Sargent's car because he was more likely to score points. He didn't score points, and I'm not sure Logan would have done a much worse job than that anyway. I think they missed a big opportunity to give Logan Sargent a lot more confidence. And I still don't understand how a team as professional, apparently as Williams...
Yeah, you are in your old mindset.
With everything that Williams stands for, can come to these races without a spare chassis. I'm still...
Wow, and you maybe also will be surprised that Mercedes, after 3 years, after their dominance, they still can't make a good car. Man, that's not surprising. Maybe for a lame thinker like you, but that's... Everyone will not be at the best 100%.
The more I think about it, the more I'm absolutely blown away by it. And again, I've done a bit...
I mean, they went from winning races and winning constructorships to never doing it, almost. So are you really surprised something more bad will happen in that team?
More research. I don't think they have had any problems with crash testing over the winter. So there hasn't, and even if there was, it shouldn't have got to this point. But for them not to have that spare, I mean, it's almost, it is incredible to me. You know, you'd think sports car teams, other teams would come to these three flyaways with a spare chassis, and they didn't have a spare. It's just beyond belief. Anyway, they didn't, and they put Alex Albon in Logan's car, which I think was wrong.
So surprised.
And Logan was there, which I think was wrong, because as I said before, I think he should have been there stopping the next payment to Williams, because you know nothing was right about that either. Nothing made sense about anything that happened at Williams this weekend. Anyway, I've done enough about things that
made Mercedes more sense then?
Don't make sense. Let's talk about the thing that does make sense, which is the
Mercedes.
quality a drive like Carlos Sainz's and a weekend and a recovery from appendicitis, being rewarded with the Grand Prix win in Australia. And remember this, last year he was unbelievably unlucky, I think, or unfairly treated is a much better word, with that ridiculous penalty he got at the restart. And again, all he was guilty of was just trying to do an overtake, and the gate was shut. Yeah, okay, but he got that ridiculous penalty, and I said at the time, so unjust, and what a nice poetic justice that he got the win in 2024. Shame that Carlos's trainer wasn't there to enjoy this moment with Carlos, because he's put a lot of work, his physio, into Carlos. And guess who he's with now? Max Verstappen. Amazing, isn't it? Went from Carlos Sainz to Max over the winter, and there's Carlos with just another physio. That he's
Max Verstappen, like, okay, that's something.
Got from Ferrari, Italian guy. He had a really good English guy before. He's now with Max, Rupert Mannering, and there's Carlos with the sort of standard physio. Good guy, very good guy, and wins the Australian Grand Prix. Superb. What a day, what a result, what a win for Carlos Sainz. Living in Spain now, this is a final thought. Living in Spain now, I sometimes watch the Formula One coverage on DAZN, D-A-Z-N. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. It seems an odd word for the English, let alone the Spanish. Anyway, it's on there. And I don't understand too much Spanish, but I understand enough to know that DAZN are completely obsessed with Fernando Alonso as the Spanish hero. And occasionally Carlos Sainz gets the odd mention, but very, very occasionally. I wonder what they'll be doing this weekend. It'll probably be Fernando's P6 that they'll eulogize over. No, I'm obviously being a little bit cynical there, but it's interesting, isn't it? In Spain, Fernando is absolutely huge.
Why wouldn't he?
And Carlos Sainz is, no bigger than Lance Stroll, really. But here in Australia...
And you think that's weird? I mean, is there a difference between Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris? If yes, wow, what a shock. Didn't ever see that coming. Or George Russell.
Australia, Carlos Sainz, long before he won this Grand Prix, was absolutely enormous as well. And a lot to be said about that, because the Australians have a good feel for sport and for athletes and who's doing
yeah, sure, Copium.
What on the world stage. And as I say, for them to have that podium, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, it's just like the perfect podium for the Australians. Anyway, great Grand Prix, really enjoyed it. Lovely to work with Jackie.
Wouldn't Piastri win? Ricciardo win and Piastri P2? Wouldn't that be the more amazing thing ever? No, Copium.
Stewart, so Jackie Stewart, all weekend as well. He's in good form.
Right.
And so the teams move on. It's kind of, yeah, here's the final thought. That it's 2 weeks now before the Japanese Grand Prix, which is a really uncomfortable period of time. If ever there was a moment you wanted a back-to-back, it would be now to Japan, because now 2 weeks means that it's a long time for all the bulk of the team, the guys and the girls, to stay in a hotel in Bali or whatever they're going to be doing, an expensive time as well, I suppose you could add. And it's just long enough for all the senior management to fly all the way back to Europe and then fly all the way back to Japan and add to all the stress of the travel. If it was back to back, of course, it'd just be a seamless, let's get on to Japan. But it's just that weird 2 week thing that it's a strange sort of twilight zone period that Formula One's going into. Most of the people I spoke to agree with that thought as well. Anyway, thanks for watching this one. Thanks for going through my thoughts with me, because they're all a bit rambling and a bit shambolic. But in the hotel room here, it just sort of engenders me just thinking about the race rather than being more systematic about it. And I hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks to Pitbox, thanks to Jetcraft, and
Minecraft music,
you guys as well for watching.
Perfect
this.
timing.
I'll be doing a live stream when I get back to Spain sometime this coming week. Not quite sure.
7,
Look
8,
forward to that. Look forward
9.
to seeing you then. Take care.
Let's see if this is better clip made. When will the blast scrape happen? Now is the black screen. And it's 1 second, 10, 11 seconds. Is 39 seconds left. And this fucking party music. So weird. So why? Let's see, 9. Go away, ad. And let's see, we have yeah, some clips left. We have, of course, Kym. Where do we have him? Kym Illman.
G'day from sunny Melbourne. What an amazing day out for this team here, Ferrari, a 1-2, and Carlos Sainz absolutely nailing it with a win just a couple of weeks after appendix surgery. Well, this was Carlos's third win of his career. His last win was in Singapore last year, and that was an epic night out. Today, though, it was stunning. Max Verstappen ended up out on lap 3 with his brakes on fire, and at that point everybody just cheered in the crowd. But before I go too much into the race, I want to go back to Wednesday when I saw Carlos here in the paddock, and he looked very proppy, very ginger, moving around, almost hobbling, and he showed a couple of team crew his scar, and then he showed them what he was going to do during the track sessions, that is put some rubber underneath the seatbelt buckle, which I can't tell you whether he did today. If you know, please, in the comments below. Come FP1 and 2, yeah, he did okay, but there was always this doubt of was he going to be well enough to drive. He did FP3, he did quali, but of course quali's, what, probably 45 minutes of full-on action. It's not a race, but he got through, as you know, second place. But today he started in second, and within 3 laps he was in front, and the crowd were just well and truly behind him. And there'll be huge celebrations tonight down in Lygon Street here in Melbourne. I'll jump now to Parc Ferme because I thought that was interesting. He parked head-on underneath to get out of his car in shade. And normally when you win a race and you're not a Max Verstappen, you're jumping out, you're springing around, but he was still very careful when he got out of that car. He moved towards his crew, got his gloves, threw one into the crowd, threw the second one into the crowd. He then went over and hugged his important people in the team. His girlfriend Rebecca Donaldson was in the crowd. I didn't see her earlier on, but she found him afterwards. Zach Brown was quick to congratulate him, as was Adam Norris, Lando's dad. And then Lando came over, gave a beautiful hug to Carlos because they are close friends, and a couple of minutes later the boys decided to do a selfie in front of the Ferrari crew. Has this restored some excitement into the sport of Formula One?
No.
I think it has. It's given us some hope that somebody other than Max Verstappen will win a race.
Or I already had that hope. I mean, Charles Leclerc and Norris, that they could win. So for me, it have not restored anything. It restored that other people can win in a boring race.
So what now for the drivers? Well, many of them are heading to Bali, a couple of them heading to Vietnam, to just simply relax because it's on the way to Japan. At the moment, the crew are madly packing stuff up, but there will be some celebration later tonight, I have absolutely no doubt. It's not often Ferrari gets a 1-2, and that's something that definitely should be celebrated. Behind me is the Ferrari hospitality suite, and there are a lot of people out the front here waiting for their 2 drivers to come back and celebrate with them. But that's not the end of their day. They're at the TV media pen. They still have to go up and do the press conference. I'll be up there to have a listen to what they have to say about a truly stunning day. I think the whole F1 world is just amazed that Carlos has managed to overcome all of the pain, which I'm sure there was a little bit of, maybe plenty of, to win his first race since Singapore last year. It was a lovely thing to watch, and the crowd has really lapped it up. Well, we just had the Ferrari celebration shot, and I am still wet with Ferrari champagne. It was quite lovely.
Oh,
we
wait.
ended up... thanks, mate. We ended up... well, there's still going on back there, a bit of showering and excitement. In the end, it just became a rabble and we were squashed in. Then Carlos did pose for some pictures in front of a very tightly bunched group of photographers and videographers. What a great thing to be in this paddock and be a part of that celebration. I'm touched and delighted for this young man. So that's the big story of the day, but there were plenty of other things going on here in the paddock.
Like what?
Well, Nico Hulkenberg
Just
was in a
Verstappen.
fantastic mood this morning when he arrived into the paddock. And I'll be open with you, I do get on well with Nico, and I often get amazing looks from him. But this was right up there. Unfortunately, I had a long lens, so it's probably a little bit too tight. But in this shot, you can see right into his mouth. I must tell you, earlier in the day, I
Nice.
watched Logan Sargent come in, and of course he's not driving this weekend, so he's pretty leisurely. And he did interact with a lot of people, and then some girls were the other side of a fence with their mobile phones, and they wanted selfies, so they threw them to Logan, except one ended up on the concrete. Not Logan's fault, somebody threw at the wrong time, but anyway, he was a good sport about it, and was more than happy to spend some minutes with them. I'm standing
Unlucky.
above the paddock here in Melbourne, and that is where you want to be. If you want to see the drivers, if you want
But
to
did it broke or what happened?
be right
So
at
what
the
happened?
coal face of this amazing event. How do you get access to that? Well, it's not easy. You certainly can't. Well, you can actually buy a ticket that gets you 3 days access to it, but it's crazy money. I'm not even sure it's sold for this event. But if you buy Paddock Club tickets here, often you'll get a tour that'll allow you to spend, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes a day or a weekend down in the paddock. But it is really an amazing experience. And as I've said before, this is right up there with the best paddocks in Formula One. Oh, and next year, they're doing a whole lot of renovations to the pit building. Now, on the subject of this paddock, it is a very busy paddock, and as you see, it's not terribly wide. So a lot of the drivers, if they want to get from one end to the other, won't walk down here because they probably wouldn't get down here very quickly, because their pace down here would be very slow because everyone wants a selfie or an autograph. So they tend to take the behind route, which is a much quicker route, and it avoids pretty much everybody back there. And what else is back there? A whole lot of catering. Should we head back and have a look? You'll see these
Red Bull's catering that they're wasting money on.
hospitality tents where the teams are cooking up a storm. Over here the Mercedes crew are cooking up a magnificent barbecue with some beautiful burgers. Ferrari have chicken fillets cooking here, just grilled, and I guess that'll probably be for their drivers. And in here, I can tell you, I've seen and smelt the fact that they are producing some magnificent looking pizzas. Over at McLaren, they have fish fingers along with tuna tartare.
No! I mean, not good day to be in the McLaren.
Side, and a whole host of other tasty treats.
Better to be in the Ferrari.
Now the guys here at Alpine have quite a feast. They've got prawns with vegetables, they've got pasta arrabbiata, and also some magnificent focaccia. Next up is Williams. Well, the drivers are getting lamb madras, and then there's another special menu for all the guests, and a different menu for the team. Now, at the far end of the paddock, and it is the very far end of the paddock, we have Haas cooking up a storm for their crew in the garages. These are glamour sandwiches: roast beef, caramelised onion, camembert, and Dijon mustard. My gosh, they eat well here. And the Ferrari crew even made me some lovely pizza or focaccia with onion on it. Right. Oh, that was beautiful.
Onions? What did he say this was? Skeleton.
They eat well here. And the Ferrari crew even made me some lovely pizza or focaccia with onion on it.
You call that pizza?
Oh, that was beautiful.
I don't
Actually
think
told
so.
them 10 minutes and I was more like
Lies.
20, so it's a little bit cold, but that's my fault only. Very light, fluffy dough. The Italians can cook. F1 is all about money and glamour, and today we're having lunch as a guest of Mercedes out here behind the hospitality suite. And have a look here. Isn't that lovely? We've got a little table set for me, and I'm going to try some of their beautiful food, which Balint, the chef from Hungary, is going to cook for me. So the story here at Mercedes is they have Doe & Co do their catering. Now Doe & Co is huge. About 8 years ago, Niki Lauda was in the motorhome and having lunch, and whoever was catering wasn't doing a great job because Niki said, no, not happy, gets onto Doe & Co, which is based in Vienna, and says, right, we want you. And they've had this contract since then. The logistics, though, of cooking for so many people in a different country every couple of weeks is quite remarkable. And I've seen people like Karl-Heinz Hauser from McLaren. He's a Michelin star.
No, this is right.
A couple of days before each event, he will be out at supermarkets picking up food, and then throughout the weekend, he's also there working out what's fresh, what should be served on the menu, and it changes all the time. For a starter, it was fish with a potato tempura. Then we had another starter of octopus with scallop and a
The pizza looked better.
magnificent sauce. And then for main course, some beautiful beef with some potatoes and some veggies, and a red wine jus. The steak was stunning. It was cooked to perfection, and the red wine jus was just gold. Now, if I was to order that meal in Las Vegas or Monaco, I'm guessing it's $100+ US. Granted, though, that the view and the surrounds might be a little bit more salubrious, but we do have shade, and I am well sated. What do I give that meal? I'm going to give that 9.1 out of 10. Just a bit more on the Melbourne Walk. Whilst it is hugely popular here, I think the drivers are pretty happy that it's not at every single race. But certainly, every time I've left the paddock, I tend to go out there and just take photos of people with these little Instax cameras and give them the prints. And it's a very pleasurable 25 odd minutes of just interacting with those people, because many of them get up at 5 a.m. and they will spend all day out there. Some of them go and watch the track sessions, but it's a very social scene for those who are really committed. Well, it's been an absolute privilege to be here this weekend to see Carlos Sainz win this race, and you can see all of my social media stuff here. Thanks for watching.
Oh my god.
Oh, we're just doing him.
Do a scooter!
Scooter! Then we've got bloody Lando Norris's dad ambushing my video.
Yeah, could not. Is that a bad thing? Sounds like a good thing. Yeah, the last thing I want to watch is the what's it called? The interviews the drivers had after the race. And let's see. I mean, the best part will be Lewis Hamilton. So let's watch it.
Yeah, I can just tell you I'm extremely happy. Not only because of these last 2 weeks, but because of how difficult this year it's been so far. You know, as I said on the radio, a bit of a roller coaster. You start the year with the bad news of the non-renewal and a bit...
I mean, good news for maybe Ferrari. Maybe more bad news for you. And yeah, that's it.
Thinking, okay, what's next in my life? And then you prepare yourself, you go training, you do your winter testing, you arrive to the first race, and boom, a good podium that sets the season going, gets the season going, and then suddenly...
Yeah, the biggest downgrade getting to the hospital.
The unknown of when am I going to be back? Am I going to be back in full form? How long it's going to take me to get back up to speed and confident? And then suddenly you come back and win.
First and second was the best we could do this weekend, so on that I'm very happy. On my own performance, I'm not extremely happy. In qualifying I didn't do a great job. I was starting further back than what I would have hoped for. In the race my second stint wasn't great. I had a lot of front graining. My last stint was really good, but
I mean, the Leclerc could have won that race. He's banned. But hopefully we'll win other races. Yeah. Like Monaco, Baku, his home race. Wouldn't that be amazing? So be good at these races.
It was too late to do anything, and Carlos has been on it the whole weekend, so congratulations to him, he deserves it.
Probably wasn't expecting to have the pace we did today. I think we expected good pace, but maybe not to keep up with Charles, and honestly
Really? You don't think your car is that good? Man, you should be more a believer on McLaren. I mean, you have signed the contract, so You must hope they're making progress.
I would say our pace was probably a bit better than Charles today. They undercut us. They got the upper hand on this one, so maybe we kind of can review our decisions and what we tried to achieve. But you're always in a tricky spot when you're in this position.
Yeah, I think definitely we're a bit quicker than we expected. Yeah, when we
So that super good. Lewis Hamilton still driving a washed car, and isn't that amazing? And you're in the good car.
could hang with the Ferraris. That was a positive surprise, and obviously Max went out early, but yeah, was surprised Checo wasn't a bit quicker. So yeah, good result. Happy with that, and I think the fact that we were able to stay pretty close to Ferrari was a great sign.
We just struggled to put the car in the window. I think the first stint I was very limited. We were trying to protect the front, but
yeah, Perez's race was not fun to watch. The race when he could have maybe also won, he didn't. Can't be a fun day for Perez.
But we overdid it, and then going on to the second and third stint, we just decked off that front left tire, which yeah, it wasn't ideal, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was obviously a very difficult weekend for us in terms of pace. So yeah, the race, we were lucky with the safety car at the beginning with Luis, and then the pit stops were great as well. So thanks to the strategy and a little bit of luck, obviously we maximized the points, but we cannot forget that the pace was difficult the whole weekend.
Yeah, it was a pretty lonely race, but good to pick up some points.
The pace was there already from last two races. I would say for sure this race was...
Yeah, there was not much from Lance Stroll. Oh my god, it's so little that... It's go from 31 to 32. And between that Lance Stroll is.
A pretty lonely race, but good to pick up some points.
The pace was there already from last two races.
You can see another hype. Oh my god, he got 6 points. The cardio have a hard team to beat now.
I would say for sure this race was probably the best out of three. So yeah, also we will check the reason why we were performing well here, and hopefully also we can continue like this performing.
You will,
also
don't
next
worry.
races onwards, yeah.
Obviously, first VSC helped me,
Yeah, okay, we don't need to listen to the Haas people. They are cheaters. They don't deserve the points. They should be last because I put them last. Williams should be better. So unlucky.
It was a cheap stop, but then 2 times was quite practical. After both my stop, I came out, and kind of it's quite awkward for the car that's on track when a car comes out of the pit lane, because we sort of park it, and the closing speed is very big. And the first time I kind of overtook Daniel that way, and the second time I took Alex that way, and I'm sure they were both pretty unhappy about that, but that kind of made our race today, and that together with the VSC and everything and the teamwork, so very happy.
It's good. We got both cars in the points. Good teamwork once again.
No, stop lying.
Obviously, it didn't help me with the virtual safety car, the first one, but on the flip side, it helped Nico, so we could get him back in the battle, and fantastic day for us to get 3 points here after qualifying.
Yuki Tsunoda got 6.
Decent, but not great. Just super happy with today.
A bit disappointed. I don't think we had the pace today, and we were kind of falling away from the group we were racing, so we kept pitting early to keep us in the mix, get on some fresh tyres and try and close the gap again. And by the end of the race, the last 10 laps, it paid our price, and we dropped back. So.
Oh, so they shouldn't have picked early.
First racing, I just struggled with the tyres, graining, and Couldn't drive as quickly as other people without breaking the tires.
Yeah, I kind of knew that.
No, Ricardo, you could have got points today. Why did you mess up the qualifying?
What's done is done, and try to make the most of today. And even obviously, it's nice that there was moments in the race where I did have pace, and I was able to show, okay, I can still get some good stints in there.
So much slimes.
It was still good to get the laps, and yeah, there's things through the race where I'll mark, like we have let's say a button on the wheel that I can like use as a reference to say, oh, that lap I felt something there. So, you know, like there was.
Oh wait, can't I remove
I'm not
this?
giving away secret information, but it's just things I remember to tell the engineers after. So there's a few points through the race that I marked, let's say. And
oh, that.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good to get the understanding, the data gathering, and all that. Obviously, the weekend I would have loved to have gone better.
We started 17th, finished 13th. We tried with the strategy, tried to.
Yeah, Alpine a lot of trying. Oh, Mercedes, and I mean Max Verstappen shouldn't be there, but Mercedes being lost, that's amazing.
Put ourselves at some stage of the race in a decent position in case there is any red flag, and.
Okay, I have an idea. Oh. Yeah, that's so much better.
We, in a way, feel like we did the best we could with the package we had, but you know, we were just talking.
You can't make the package look better. That's the reason.
About it last year, I was fighting with Carlos for P4. This year he wins the race and we're fighting in 13th.
It's not great, obviously. We know we have.
Oh my god, the Alpine. What are they doing? And stake F1 team kicks over. Oh my god. Scary lights. Okay, back to
Work to
Bottas.
do on those, and
Oh yeah, Bottas have one more good pit stop.
yeah, it's frustrating because I think we had a good pace, good start. Should have ideally got points today with the performance we had. So yeah, it's tough, but yeah, we obviously haven't solved the issues yet we have. So that's what we need to keep working on.
Actually, we was together with the guys, the pace, and I think beside from that, we had let's say a better pace compared to the Alpines,
Yeah,
like we expected. And then
change.
starting at the back of the train, it's difficult to just gain positions. Everybody is in the IS train, and was tricky to overtake. But pace was okay in general, like we expected, but nothing surprisingly bad or more.
We were running on for possible points today. We were in front of Kevin. We were fighting with Alex. I was in.
That's copium. Don't. Yeah, surely you were in the points. Maybe for some time, but not in the end. Come on, don't lie.
In front of Nico as well. So you know we were gonna be in the mix. You know for that 9th, 10th, 11th position. It was gonna be a fun race, but unfortunately cut short with that issue with the tear off.
Yeah, I'm okay. Really don't know what happened, to be honest. I was half a second behind Fernando.
You don't know what happened? I bet the FIA knows.
The entry of the corner, and then suddenly, you know, before the apex, I was right in his gearbox and lost the car, ran wide, and just unfortunately the wall was, well, ran wide, hit the wall, and then it was obviously a dramatic few seconds after that, but yeah, disappointing end to a difficult race.
Well, I didn't feel it. It just went.
And time for Lewis Hamilton to tell me that you are sad without telling me that you are sad.
In one go, I didn't feel it coming. Definitely frustrating because you know it was so early in the race. I was hoping to be able to progress forwards and on a different strategy to everyone. And but
these things happen.
In the car, from my side, already when I
Man, that was more positive than I thought it would. Maybe he have accepted that the car is bad. Nothing to do.
that moment in turn 3 was very weird. Why that happened? Because you weren't really pushing, you're just easing into the race, you know, settling in. But of course, once I got out of the car, you look into the data, and basically what happened was from the when the lights went off, the right rear brake stuck on, and yeah, it didn't cool. So it just kept on being warmer and warmer, giving me really weird instabilities, and then of course it caught fire.
Yeah, and that was the last thing to watch. And the progress of let's see. Does it feel better? Yeah, less. Oh, it's this one. It feels more open. Should it be like that? No. Oh, I've switched places. Okay, go away. YouTube.
And
yeah, now it's just fixing this. Okay, where should I end it? Ah, I can end it here. No. Should end it. Yeah, I can end it. Yeah, and that was everything about Formula 3, Formula 2, Formula 1. And next Formula 1 race will happen in, let's see if we can find. Where can yeah, we have it. 5th April will the practice start, and then the race on P7 P7 April 7. One more early race. This is slightly less early, but still early. And hopefully Lando Norris win.